Do you know why someone doesn't win a gold medal at the Olympics? I'll tell you exactly why, okay? Imagine event is swimming and you gotta swim. Why would you not win a gold medal?
Because, why do I not win a gold medal?
Why do you not win a gold medal? It's because
Tell me why.
you were not fast enough. That's it. Point blank, period. You don't make the cut. But I also wouldn't, so I don't know why I'm being so aggressive with that. You just aren't fast enough. But with this specific 2024 Olympics, they're on the Chinese swim team. You know how the China swim team, the national team, went viral during the Olympics because they came out decked out in those red parkas and they were just like and pounding their chest like some sort of mating call.
I don't think everyone knows it though.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You have to describe that.
Oh, they went viral. Okay, so I didn't know this, but swimmers, they come out to the event wearing puffer jackets. I thought they looked goofy. They look like penguins. Turns out they need to because their muscles need to be warm. It needs to be loosey-goosey up in there. The Chinese swim team, because the color of China is red, they come out in these red puffer jackets, but they're like these jacked dudes coming out, headphones in, red puffer jacket, walk into their little station, and they're patting their chest. They're pounding their chest because you actually have to tap your muscles to keep them activated. But they're just kinky. They're touching themselves everywhere. Okay, it's a lot. And they went viral and everyone was like, wait, I didn't know that China swims. Suddenly I gotta watch China swims. And they went viral. They did really well. They killed it in the Olympics. But there was this one guy on the Chinese national swim team that everybody was like, this guy has a world record. This is the world, and now we're in the Olympics. I mean, he's already beat everybody technically, so of course he's gonna win a gold medal. He's gonna win 10 gold medals. He doesn't win any gold medals in his own individual events. And people are like, what happened? To the point where people accuse him of all sorts of things. Was he doping when he won the 2023 broke the world record? Because how do you suddenly not break it? How are you suddenly so bad all of a sudden? Okay, not so bad, but he just wasn't doing well. And then you go online a few months later after the Olympics, and I'll tell you why he didn't win a gold medal. His fiance of 6 years comes out to expose this Chinese national swim champion and states that she suspected that he was cheating on her with not only girls that he meets on dating apps, but athletes from synchronized swimming teams.
Oof.
Okay? And every time she would confront him about it, he would say, I swear on my life, I swear I will never win a gold medal ever again if I cheated on you. And he did not.
Dun, dun, dun.
Recently, I've also been enjoying watching this new series that came out on Netflix in Thailand called The Deception Game. It was just added to Netflix Thailand, and the title just immediately grabbed my attention. It's kind of like a drama meets a romance revenge TV show that keeps you on your toes, and it's all thanks to ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN provides online privacy and security solutions, including a VPN, a password manager, and even ad blockers. VPN, by the way, stands for Virtual Private Network, and it is the easiest, most effective way for people to browse the internet while keeping your personal data hidden. Personal data may include things like your social security number, bank account information, credit information, medical history, addresses, locations, so much. Now, some of you guys might be asking why your personal data needs to be protected, or think, well, I don't really have anything for scammers to steal, and what are even the chances that my data is even going to be breached? Unfortunately, for most internet users, it is almost guaranteed that your personal data is currently being tracked and perhaps even sold, meaning your personal information may fall into the wrong hands. Grubby little hands. Think of the world's moistest hands, just trying to grab at your information, steal your identity, drain your bank account, use your credit to rack up debt in your name, and more. On average, someone's identity is being stolen every 79 seconds. That is where ExpressVPN comes in. Their virtual private network, or VPN, encrypts your data like an invisibility cloak. Think of it like that, making your personal information, digital footprint, all the sensitive stuff that could be used for fraud, basically invisible to the scammers and data brokers who are looking looking to take advantage of your data. It also allows you to bypass geographical barriers on various streaming platforms, which gives you access to thousands of movies and shows that you otherwise wouldn't even be able to watch, let alone even browse. Like so many streaming platforms, Netflix has tens of thousands of shows and movies available. However, you only get access to a fraction of the content purely based on your location, meaning you're still paying the full price for a subscription, but you're only getting a fraction of the content. But with ExpressVPN, you can change your location to Thailand like I did and watch the Deception game, which I otherwise would not have been able to watch. And don't worry, ExpressVPN works on your phone, laptop, and even your smart TV, so you can watch your on-demand shows on the big screen with zero buffering. ExpressVPN makes cybersecurity easy, gives you access to new TV shows and movies, and does all the work for you. You can take advantage of ExpressVPN's Black Friday Cyber Monday offer to get the absolute best VPN deal you will find all year by scanning the QR code on the screen, or use my special link expressvpn.com/bis to get 4 extra months with the 12-month plan or 6 extra months with the 24-month plan totally free. That's expressvpn.com/bis to get an extra 4 or even 6 months of ExpressVPN for free. Do you know what the term double doors mean?
Double door?
You a double door?
Like a Dumbledore?
No.
Or a double door?
A double door. A double decker. A double door. You don't know?
Sounds scandalous, but okay, tell me. Is that a Chinese term or no?
Yes.
It is.
Yes. Okay. Think of like a double door entrance. It's big. It's great. Okay. Think of a refrigerator.
Oh, you're talking about left and right double door.
Yes. Double
French
doors.
door.
French. Whoa. Okay. Architectural Digest.
Like 2 doors.
Two doors. Yes. Okay. Now think of a fridge. Are you imagining a fridge?
Sure.
Okay, now the fridge on top just has one door to the refrigerator, and the bottom is a pull-out freezer. Very normal, very regular, very Ozempic. But think of a fridge with double doors on top. 2 doors on top, they open both ways. Wide, very wide. Spacious, surface area, square footage. Imagine hanging up a tiny little picture frame, a round picture, a mistletoe on top of the fridge. It's awkward because you have a double door fridge. The refrigerator is so wide, but the mistletoe is just in the center. It's tiny. It's unproportionate. Now think of that in a man build. Refrigerator, double door build with a tiny mistletoe as the head. I am the opposite. Think the opposite of me, okay? Small head, big shoulders. Oh yeah, that is a category of the male specimen. And it sounds objectifying, right? But pick your battles, men, okay? Like, we got more going on in this field right now for women. Recently, this male build starter pack has been really bad. Like in Korean manga, it's well known that the male lead's shoulders keep getting wider and wider while the head gets smaller and smaller. And at this point, you can't even do like a 3-way love triangle in Korean manga because 2 male leads don't fit on the same page. It just doesn't work. And it's become a whole meme in South Korea. But also, you think that this only exists in mangas. It's in real life. You see these guys at South Korean gyms. Look at this picture. If you guys are audio listening, there's a picture of a man flexing in the mirror. Better yet, there's in the same picture a woman behind him taking a picture of him taking a picture because she's like, now I've never seen a bitch like this. Why is a bitch built like this? She needs to save this as photographic evidence for future historians because they're all confused. Are South Koreans...
Wait, double door?
It's a body type. The shoulders are very wide.
Okay.
Very buff.
Yes.
Okay? And the head is always small. Because when the shoulders are so wide, no matter how big your head is, it's going to look small.
So you're saying in China, the double door body type is going viral.
Oh, yeah. If there's a group of girls eating brunch, they go, hey, look, don't make it obvious. There's a double door behind you. And then you take a look and you go, oh my God, that's a triple door.
Girls are into double doors.
Some girls for sure.
I thought it was called the refrigerator.
Oh, no, but now double door is more than the refrigerator.
Oh, so refrigerator is out. So to have a refrigerator body is no longer hot. Now we want the double refrigerator.
Yeah.
Like double door refrigerator.
Double door refrigerator.
Got
just a regular fridge bod is good. It's acceptable. We might like you, but it's not good enough.
Got it. Okay.
They come in all shapes. No. They come in one shape, but they come from all different backgrounds. There's another particular image that goes viral. This one is very rich. These double doors have money. These got double pockets. There's a Korean man trying to get out of his Lamborghini, which is a very low car, low to the ground, and honestly hard to maneuver. I think it's a waste of money.
Low class too.
Yeah, guys, Lamborghini is not it. Okay? He's trying to walk out, but the top half of his body is so heavy, he just tumbles out. He falls over onto the ground.
Is that like a photo or a video?
It's a real photo of a man in a Lamborghini. I mean, think of it. He's an upside down bowling pin. Of course, gravity is not going to be helpful to him. It's not going to be beneficial for him. And he can't even get out of his low ass car because he's so top heavy that he keeps tumbling out of the car. His body is disproportionate. And according to our Chinese researchers, these body types are all the rage in China right now. Girls will be on the street. Stop. I see one. I see a double door. Do you see the double door?
Dumbledore. Dumbledore is back.
Dumbledore is back. Or when they try to set their friends up. Oh yeah, he's cute. He's a double door.
What in
Oh
the
yeah,
world?
and it's not shoulder pads. Although some men have been trying to use shoulder pads to recreate the look, but it just looks like two BBLs on your shoulders. You look goofy. We know what you're doing, which great and all. But these are also the types of guys that have to go through airport security sideways. Have you thought about that though? Imagine if they're trying to sleep on their side. Their head is levitating. It's not touching their pillow because their shoulder is so large. It's embarrassing. But for the public service of many of my single girlies watching this, double doors, please keep posting shirtless pics, not for I like to not have to crane my neck 500 meters to give my husband a kiss on the cheek. It's not for me, but the double doors make some girls go crazy. Essentially, if you have a double door build with some extra style, extra talent, you're a walking catch. They can't wrap their arms around you, but they'll die trying. That's the point. That's what happens to the Chinese Olympic swim team in 2024. You just see 10 refrigerators walk out and you're like, fucking double doors. What's happening? Which door should we open? Okay. They're the ones wearing the red puffer jackets, coming out like they're walking on a runway of off-white. They're crazy. They're just walking out, slapping their chest. It's weird. But the Chinese Olympic swim team goes viral. Globally, of course, but especially in China. They're skilled, they're talented. They're double door, double floor, decker buses, and they just go off. Their performance is top notch in the 2024 Paris Olympics, at least for a few of them. Fans have started calling them male model dream team. They've each become their own celebrity brand after the Olympics. A lot of them have also really good on-camera personalities too. Some fans are so supportive and are so dedicated to the craft of swimming, the art of swimming, the butterfly strokes, the breaststrokes, all the strokes for different folks, you know? Women love it. They bring binoculars to the swim competitions. They're locked in. They're smirking. They're giggling. They're smiling. They said, 10 times the view is 10 times the happiness. When a friend asked one of the girls with the binoculars, she's like just zoned in watching the swimmers. They're like, what?
She doesn't have an iPhone or something?
No, she wants to be in the moment, you know? Okay. And they're like, hey, what's your view? What's going on in the water? She just responds, so handsome. She doesn't even know who's winning. She doesn't even know. And they say girly pops don't care about sports. I beg to differ. There's one clip of a Chinese swimmer shushing the crowd. I'm like, sir, what the fork are you doing here? But I do think my single dark romance girlies are going to enjoy the view. So here you go. I'm going to insert it onto the screen. He walks out slapping his chest and then he just tells the crowd to shush.
Oh, that's the Balenciaga looking.
Yeah, and I'm like, hello? The swimmers even have personal and private teams of physical therapists, masseuses, to help relax their muscles and optimize their performance.
Oh, yes.
So naturally, netizens have commented, I promise to take no sick days. It will be 100% attendance, voluntary overtime, promised. Where do I apply? Where do I apply? But even out of the sea of swimmers and the sea of people, there's one that stands out. Chin sea. Okay, that sounds weird when I say it like that, but his name is Chin Haiyang. Haiyang means sea. His name literally translates to ocean. And he is, was one of the most popular Olympic swimmers on the Chinese team in 2024 until his longtime fiance made a live stream expose about him. So buckle up. This is the Olympic Games of cheating. Haiyang's a goat. That's his nickname. That's what they call him. But they don't call him like goat. You're the greatest of all time, even though he did break a world record. That's not his nickname. They call him slow goat. That's his nickname.
What does that mean, slow goat?
He's just a slow goat. He is known for his breaststrokes. Like I said, he made history in 2023 at the World Aquatics Championships for his breaststrokes. He actually just went ahead and broke the world record for the 200-meter breaststroke. There's different meters, different world records for different meters. By like half a second. He broke the record by half a second.
But why does it call it slow goat?
Oh, just you wait.
Oh,
okay. So he's like super fast in the water. He's like the fastest. 200 meters, right? I said millimeters. Okay. He's a big fucking deal in swimming. And it's all about how long you last in swimming, or rather how fast you are. So interestingly, I think athletes' routines are always fascinating. Forget the little morning routines of billionaires. I want to know what these athletes are doing to get into the headspace before a big event. Do you ever think about that? Like what song they listen to? That is where Haiyang's nickname comes in, because he's a slow goat. They say the way he moves so slowly out of water on land is like a fish out of water. Why does he move like that? To give you an idea, in one competition, everybody else, every other swimmer goes to their assigned chair, sits down, starts taking off their gear, adjusting their swim cap, putting on goggles, getting ready, and you're like, what is that empty seat? Is somebody sick? Are they out of this competition? Where is Haiyang? Where is he? Oh, he's still walking towards his fucking chair. He just moves so laid back. Like he just sat down at a fast food restaurant with his little buzzer. Like, sir, this is a competition, okay? You know, in Korean, we have a saying for people who move this slowly. Obviously, not ableism, like people who are able-bodied and move this slowly. Okay, we have a saying. It's called 속 터져. Like, watching them makes my heart burst in frustration. It's like, why can't you just move faster? Like, my heart is about to explode out of my chest. He moves like the sloths at the DMV in that movie. Even when he's moving, lifting himself up onto the springboard, it's like he's on a different time scale, just taking his time. Everybody is already locked in, poised, ready. His former coach even said, he was always the last one on the team bus, just barely making it each time. He's so fascinating. For even interviews, for sports journalists, they say he's very difficult to interview. First of all, he talks very slowly. I got 10 more swimmers. Come on, let's chop, okay? He talks slowly, but in a calm, steady manner. But he also talks almost exclusively in vague Chinese scripture. That's how they describe it. Okay? You're like, thank you for coming to this event. I can't believe your performance. I mean, how did you feel hitting that water and breaking the 2020? You broke the world record! They stick the mic in his face. Not too bad. And what do you have to say to all your other teammates that are here joined with you today? Keep it up. Okay, and today you didn't finish gold, but you finished silver. And how does that make you feel? I mean, what do you have words for your fans? I can do better. 속 터져. You know, people are 속 터져ing right now. He will be asked about his future goals. What are your future goals? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? 3 words. Keep working hard. That is so vague, sir. That is so vague. That's not a destination. That is a very loose plan. That is his goal, which is not a bad goal, but like, come on, give them something. Some journalists are nicer, and instead of calling him a slow goat, they call him our calm brother. Our calm brother. Okay. But then something wild happens. When he hits that water, suddenly the fastest guy there. Which naturally gets him a lot of fans, a lot of female fans. One day there's this interviewer that's going around asking all the fans questions of like, who are you here to support at the swim competition? And there's this one girl in a black mask and a black hat with his name on a headband on her head. And the interviewer asks her, are you here to support Haiyang? Yeah. How long have you been his fan? There's this really awkward moment. And then she goes, I've been his fiance for 5 years. I don't even think many people knew that he had a fiance, but that's like fine. Maybe they're very private people. It's a little weird, but it's fine. You're his fiance. Are you satisfied with his performance today? Yes, very satisfied. Was he handsome today? Very. What do you like most about him? I love how handsome, hardworking, diligent, and serious he is. Which, side note, we're just gonna call the fiancé Susie, which, I mean, it's not shady. It's not like he was purposely hiding her to try and get more female fans. Actually, at this game, at this competition, Hayoung wins first place. He turns to her in the stands. She's in the stands supporting him, and he throws up his winning bouquet to her.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like he's trying
public.
to, yeah. It's just, they're not going around constantly posting pictures of each other, but they're dating. They're not trying to hide it. It's very romantic. She even posts it on her socials writing, "Thank you, Sea Frog." I guess she calls him Sea Frog because they do kind of look like sea frogs when they're in the water. I say as I can't even swim a lap. Okay. But thank you, Sea Frog, for the flowers. In the end, I gave them to a fan's son who has fallen for him. Watching the live competition was so much fun, and I'm really happy to see it all. I'm getting tongue-tied here, but Chubby, I guess she calls him Chubby. Chubby was freaking amazing. Keep up the great work. Which is so romantic, and it gets even better. At the 2023, so just last year, 1 year before the Olympics, he's at the 2023 National Swimming Championships in China, where Susie, we'll get to why later, she's handing out medals and plush toys for the athletes for their hard-earned achievements. She gets invited up with a group photo for the athletes, and Hayoung tries to offer her the plush toy, but she's so shy, and like the whole thing makes everybody fall for their relationship, which is still, this is very niche knowledge. Because he blows up 2024 Olympics. This is in 2023. So at this point, these are the fans that love the swimmers already before the Olympics. So this group of people, they love this relationship and they're kind of standing this guy. He just is known, however, unfortunately, he is known as the perpetual competition thrower.
What does that mean?
Other than breaking the world record, this guy never performs well in competitions. It's very difficult for him. Like, he'll perform better in smaller competitions. Like, he fouled at the last Olympics, the 2019, whatever Olympics. He did not do well. Yeah.
So maybe like that kind of pressure. He doesn't do well.
So he gets this new method to qualify for the 2024 Olympics, which is actually swim less. So prior to it, with these big competitions, he was saying he was swimming every single day, every single second he was in the water because he's like, I keep throwing these massive competitions, so maybe I'm just under practiced. But then everybody, his coach that he signed with, very famous coach, she said, no, swim less. That doesn't mean don't work on swimming, just do it in different ways. Get in the water less. Yeah, Hayoung gets very philosophical, posting things on Weibo like, never believe that victory comes as easily as picking a dandelion on a hill.
Wow, damn.
But do believe that all beauty in this world is worth giving our all. Wow. I feel like the two don't really correlate, but
I'm like, okay, wow.
Yeah, like what happened to the dandelion? I'm so invested in that one, okay? That's how he becomes the king of breaststrokes in 2023, the motivational shift in his mindset. And also he's squatting nonstop every single day. So he's pretending to swim on land instead of swimming in water. He's practicing. He said he was micro-adjusting even the angle of his hands in the breaststroke, micromanaging every meticulous detail in his swim. And
you know, that's what I was like trying to do recently.
Swim?
No.
Okay.
So I read a story, you know, back in the days, they were saying there was like a two team of like athletes. One team, let's say they injured themselves, right? So instead they were practicing on the court because they're injured.
Wait, stop. Don't even do this right now. I know what you're going to say.
What?
They would practice in their minds.
Yeah. No, seriously.
No, is this real?
No, it's so real.
Okay.
It's so freaking real.
Okay.
And then they test the two teams.
Yeah.
See that by the end of like, I don't know how many months, they test their results. The one who's been practicing in their head, they perform better.
Wait, stop.
Yeah. So they're saying apparently like your brain has these muscles, and if you can actually vividly imagine yourself doing that kind of sport and you're actually playing it in your head, so your body, your muscles like reacting to it. It's actually it's crazy, I know.
Is this why you play Tetris in your mind?
No, I'm start swimming now.
Just now? You just started.
No, recently.
You started swimming.
I was like, man, I should work out more.
And you're just working out in your mind? That's
yeah.
so good.
I'm trying to trick my mind. So one day, if I jump into the water, I'm going to be a...
That's the sound of his drowning. So maybe he'll beat the Frog King. That's what they call him, the Frog King. And he doesn't let the pressure get ahead of him. He says, once a gold medal is won, it's over. It shouldn't be a burden. Which made people like him even more. They're like, yes, a confident yet humble answer. He's so good. He's still so humble. Did you see him wink? That wink will make me his dog. I'm enchanted. He's too handsome. These men have been swimming on my FYP for days. To which one comments, oh my God, the female predator's screams can be heard through the phone during the competition. Oh yeah.
What?
Yeah. This is the 2023, okay? He's breaking the world record. In 2024, the Olympics rolls around, and he is one of the most closely watched swimmers on the Chinese team because he just broke that world record. His personal goal was 2 gold medals in his individual categories, the 100 meters and the 200 meters breaststroke. The entire performance, the minute he hits that water, boom, 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 boom. So underwhelming. So underwhelming. He closed 7th in the 100 meters. He didn't even qualify for the finals in the 200 meters. His performance was so bad that people were accusing him of doping the last year because they're like, how do you go from breaking a world record to being shit? Okay, not shit, but like, that's what they were saying. They were like, how do you do that? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I can't even swim. Please don't be mad at me. But the Chinese swim team overall, they had a good run. They won 12 medals, 2 gold, 3 silver, 7 bronze. And about his own personal performance though, Haiyang says, I need to work harder. There are many areas where I need to learn and improve because I didn't perform well in 2 events. I feel like this shouldn't be. I need to go back and reflect. He states that leading up to this competition, considering he had such bad luck with some competitions prior, he was putting all this pressure on himself. He was throwing up before his events. He felt like he was in a daze the whole time. Most fans were super supportive. They said, at least you went viral, right? That walk in the red jacket? At least you went viral and you signed a deal with Louis Vuitton?
No way.
Brand ambassador?
What?
I mean, come on, we love you. They comment, Olympic swimmer by day, Louis Vuitton model by night. The way he walks, I don't know how he does it. He doesn't do it intentionally, I know, but the dominance is there. Famous scene, he's like a professional model. From Paris Olympics to Paris Fashion Week. Now, they also like the way that he looks that cool. He performs that hot, spicy, but he's so shy in person. There's videos of him taking pictures with fans, and people say he looks so nervous. You can't tell who is the fan of who. He looks like he's the fan. He's not, okay, I don't want to say he's nervous per se, but he's very gentle, very cautious, very calm. And people are eating it up until they find out the real reason that he does not win a gold medal in the 2024 Olympics. October...
Is it the real... Okay, anyway. Sorry.
October 2024. It's the last day of the national holiday. Future Stephanie here, please watch until the end because there's been so many crazy developments and crazy plot twists, so before you form an opinion, get the full ending first. Susie, Haiyang's fiance, posts on Weibo, I initially wanted to help save your face, but your avoidance attitude has made me feel that I've truly fallen for the wrong person. She starts listing a full list of grievances and accusations against Haiyang, including him cheating on her during a pregnancy, flirting with fans, flirting with synchronized swim team members, and others. She says when you were in the military, you hired sex workers. The deceit during our time together has caused me immense pain. Each time you make a mistake, I'm the one suggesting breaking up, but you threaten me with your career, your life, and everything you have. You even threatened me with an intimate video of us, demanding my forgiveness. I cannot endure this any longer. Every luxury item you own was bought by me, and I've spent countless amounts on you, from the Louis Vuitton bag to the Richard Mille watches. Those watches are like $100,000, $200,000 starting?
Yeah, like 200K starting. USD. She said, believing in your repeated mistakes was my mistake. Starting today, I won't cover up any of your issues or clean up any of your messes anymore. I have evidence of every incident, chat records, recordings, and everything else. If you feel wronged and you want to sue me, I'm ready. She said, I'm litigious, okay? I'm ready. Come and get me. She goes on to explain that she practically financed his entire life, his entire swim career, expecting nothing but loyalty in the end. She didn't want him to pay her back or to later promote her business. Just out of love, she did this to help him achieve his dreams. She says he would purchase and pass out all these gifts to his fans throughout the years. She paid for those. Her money. She also reveals she's the one responding
to messages from fans pretending to be him. Because clearly he doesn't care, but she does, is what she says, okay? She says, I've been maintaining your fans in the group. It was my money that I transferred to you so that you could purchase gifts for your fans. Even to fans and reporters, I personally wrapped and sent out gifts. When I get criticized, I feel wronged. What have you done? Clearly they are your fans. When they were infatuated with you, I was the one comforting them during military training. I was the one that sent red envelopes to your fans to treat them to ice cream. What have you done? Do you even care? You only log online to see if your fans are pretty.
Oh, what?
To which netizens are wondering, is this woman his mother? Or his manager? Or his fiance? The crazy part is, she actually informed his PR team in advance that she was going to do this. She was like, let me give you a chance to do some damage control because I'm about to shred this shit up. Which netizens are like, you even informed all his PR team before exposing? You are sis. You're too kind. This is crazy, okay? I don't even know what to say. You adopted a stray dog in heat. You loved him too much. You're his girlfriend, not his mother, not his manager. Which the PR team did respond. They said that this was malicious slander and false information that was severely damaging to his reputation. They have denied all accusations. She goes on, then to later expose an audio clip.
就是你有没有想过我有因为害怕，然后一直跟你在一起呢？
He's talking to her on the phone, and he says, have you ever considered that I was with you all this time because I was scared? Which
What?
is
What
like
does that
kind
mean?
of, I don't know. Some netizens are like, oh my God, this means that they were in a toxic relationship. Some netizens are kind of confused by that. To which she responds that she is the reason that he never got exposed. She was always protecting him. It wasn't his parents, not even himself, obviously, but her. She was saving him. And when she finally tells his parents, his mom allegedly responded to her, you have to take care of him, protect him as a girlfriend.
Tells the mom what?
He's been cheating on me. He's doing this. He's doing that. Like, this is the worst relationship ever. He keeps hurting me. He's betraying me. And the mom is like, well, you have to take care of him. You have to protect him. You're his girlfriend. She says, what did I do wrong? Everything you have today, you should be thanking me. You should really thank me. You're the one with all the problems. Tell me, am I harming you or am I protecting you? Am I harming you? How do you think I should be treated then? But instead, my fiance is calling me to tell me that he's only with me because he's scared of me. Do you think I deserve to be treated like this?
She made a post saying that he cheated, he was hiring sex workers, and then she posted a voice audio.
She keeps going on live because people start coming in and attacking her.
Oh, she went on live.
Yes.
I see.
Because after she posts that long Weibo post, this whole topic starts trending. And there were a group of people that immediately felt like Haiyang was bad. There were a group of people that felt like, we don't know both sides of the story yet. And then there were also a group of people that did not care for both sides and just said, hey, girly pop, f you. Like, you should have known when you're dating an Olympian. And they were like, also, I found this video of you and you're not even pretty.
Dang.
And they were like, you're kind of fat. They literally said that about her, to which she responded by wearing a skin-tight outfit and dancing. And everyone was like, okay, we take it back. But still, we're still mad at you, okay? So it was a whole complicated thing. She goes on live stream and she's like...
She just put on a skin-tight outfit and start dancing?
Yeah. No, literally.
And then people was like, okay, fine.
They were like, ooh, you got money and you look like that. Are you single? I'm not a swimmer, but I'll swim to your heart. But there was still a group of people that didn't like her. So she's going on live stream. She's pulling out these old recorded phone calls. She's pulling out text messages. She's doing everything. She's exposing everything. You know, some people were saying maybe she cheated on him too. We don't know the full story. They're saying things like, why shame the whole nation? He's a national hero at this point. To which she's just so upset. She said, as for people who are accusing her of being some sort of clout chaser, or perhaps she's extorting him for money, she responds, he wasn't a world champion 6 years ago when I started dating him. He had no titles back then, and you're accusing me of being after his Olympic status? Am I crazy? Are you crazy? Why did I spend so much money then? Why was I so loyal and dedicated all my time? Let's listen to the voice recording. Listen to the voice recording. Because he said he wanted to get married. She plays a voice recording of him proposing to her.
公主，你愿意嫁给我吗？我愿意。那你愿意等我娶你吗，多肉公主？我愿意。
Like, will you marry me?
He's like, Princess, will you marry me? Will you wait for me to take you as my bride?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and she's like, yes, I do.
Wait, so is he proposing?
She said that he proposed every time they went on vacation.
Wait. Wait, so did she say yes or no?
Yes, she did. She said yes many times.
So he proposed, but he never got, like, they never got married.
No, but he bought her a very expensive ring from Xiaomei.
From Xiaomei?
Wait, Xiaomei?
淑美
Oh, Xiaomei.
Wait, what? That sound like a Chinese brand.
I know, it sounds like Chinese.
Wait, Xiaomei?
Xiaomei?
Xiaomei. It's a French brand.
淑美
Yeah, it sounds Chinese.
And she said that he would propose every time they went on vacation somewhere. He would just be like, Princess, will you marry me? I feel like this guy would just get happy and propose. And she's like, clearly he loved me. And also, I don't need his money. So remember the videos that I was telling you about where she's giving medals to swimmers and stuff? Apparently she's very rich and she would sponsor the swim competitions. You know how sports events can be sponsored by Coca-Cola.
Right.
She would be the sponsor.
Sponsored by your mama. Sponsored by your wife.
And she would go onto stage and give everyone medals because she's the brand sponsor for the swim event.
And he's the winner.
Yes.
It's like, oh, good job.
Yes, exactly. So she's like, why would I need him for his money?
I mean, if she's buying him Richard Mille, like
Yes, she doesn't need
a $200,000 watch, then yeah.
multiple times. She said every time they walked into a Louis Vuitton, she would drop 30 to 40K on him.
Damn.
Every time they walked in. Who knows how many times they walked in? If it were me, I'd walk in every day.
So what's the issue though? They were dating for 6 years. Like he would propose to her nonstop, and then he started to cheat, or he's been cheating the whole time.
Been kind of cheating the whole time.
Oh.
Getting caught, saying, oh my God, don't ruin my life, please. I need you. I love you. And then she would stay with him, and then he would do it again. And then he would do it again, and then do it again, allegedly. She also talks about how she was forced to terminate a pregnancy because his parents convinced her it wasn't the best for his life. And when Susie asked Hayoung to come to the hospital with her, his mom allegedly screamed at her, to go by yourself. Why does my son have to go? Apparently, his father got involved too, and Susie claims, you said that since I'm not married, my pregnancy and termination are none of your business. You questioned whether or not I had a best friend. You questioned why couldn't my best friend accompany me to the termination, and why I had to ask him or his family. Your son is precious, but I'm not. She says, I really loved him at that time. I also believed in marriage, and, you know, I got a ring from Xiaomei. It was quite expensive. I posted it on my WeChat Moments. He posted it too. She's showing text messages of him begging her to stay when she tries to break up with him. She's like, of course I tried to break up with him. I'm not staying him because I want fame and clout or anything of him being an Olympic swimmer. Every time he cheated, I tried breaking up with him. And he would write things like, this morning, I talked to my mom about our situation. Afterwards, I saw that she was really upset and didn't speak to me again. I've been reflecting on how I did so many terrible things before. I couldn't control myself and let myself go, doing so many things that hurt you and made you sad. I don't want to be apart from you. Please forgive me. I really want to change. Please give us a little more time. Just look at my efforts. If I don't change and keep making mistakes, you can punish me however you want. He also later begs her not to find someone else, which is an odd thing to say after you cheat on someone. He says, I did so many terrible things before. I couldn't control myself and I let myself go. I know what I did was wrong and I should go find you after I leave. To which Susie is curious and she texts him back, what happens if I find someone else? He says, if I find out, I will ruin it for you.
Oh.
Which so far kind of sounded bantery. Almost. Susie responds, how? I'm curious. But she responds, you know what? I'm over it. Don't let it affect your training. Train well. To which he responds, if I was going to mess it up, of course I would use our tapes.
What?
And she starts freaking
That's
out,
crazy.
saying things like, what? What is the meaning of this? Please be human. We already broke up. Delete what you have. And he says, no. Are you sick? Are you threatening me? Are you sick in the head?
She's saying that.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm not threatening you. Are you crazy? Then what is the meaning of that text message? So I can't date again in this lifetime? And he says, just don't let me find out. Squiggle, squiggle.
Whoa.
She responds, if you're a real man, delete the video. I'm not.
Whoa.
He later says, of course, I won't use it to threaten you because you will love me again and I won't need to use the video. Which is the most threatening, unhinged, scary thing for someone to say about having an intimate video of you. She asks, are you mental? He later tries to argue that he's only using the video to communicate with her, basically stating that he's threatening her so that she'll continue talking to him, which again is crazy, crazy behavior. The comments are exactly what you imagine. When she posts this text thread, people are going off. A disgusting toad. If I was gonna mess it up, of course I'll use our tape. I'm not threatening you. Just don't let me find out. Of course I won't use it to threaten your whole life because you're gonna love me again. Every single text message is disgusting. It gets weirder. Susie mentions that she would pay for all of his airfare, hotels, cover their daily expenses. She bought him new phones every single year that he was using to download dating apps and try to talk to other girls, allegedly. So she's so upset. She said she even purchased gifts for his teammates. Susie is a clothing shop owner. She's a founder. She's very wealthy. She's an astute businesswoman, but really respects his career. She did everything she could to try and support him. She was always rooting for him behind the scenes. During one patch in their relationship, he had to train in Shanghai. She does not live in Shanghai, so she would fly every single weekend to go see him. Even if it's a short domestic flight, to get on a flight every weekend, that is so much dedication. She's 2 years older than him, but her friends said he just seemed older. They always called him grandpa or old man because he was so calm, so laid back. But what made Susie love him was the fact that when it was just the two of them, he was so goofy. He was like a little kid, world champion by day, cute guy by night, and only Susie gets to see both sides. Even when he kept messing up in championships and competitions, he said that she was the one that helped him persevere through those tough times. She did everything for him. She never leveraged his fame for her own company. For her own clothing brand, she was never like, here, wear my clothing brand. Here, take a picture with this shirt. She was just happy to stand in the shadows and help him achieve his dreams. He got to bask in the spotlight and she just clapping in the back. She would send flowers on Mother's Day from her, but then also pretending to be Haiyang sending flowers. She would purchase gold necklaces for his grandmother. She offered to help invest in kickstart Haiyang's sister's career, even helped rent a place for her when she was visiting. But some fans are accusing her of wanting to get live stream followers and states that she's doing this all for clout. Now, I will say she is also a very questionable person. This is where it gets crazy. Turns out she got sued in 2020. During the pandemic, she was selling face masks online. She would take people's money and then either not send the face masks or send lower quantities than they bought.
Okay.
Which sounds very scammy.
Yeah.
They went to court. She claims that she was a victim where she had a supplier in a different country that was scamming her. They took all the money. She did end up repaying all the restitution that the court ordered her to pay. And she does hang out with a lot of guys. Okay, some people didn't like that. I'm not judging that. I think each relationship is different, whatever, right? Whatever floats every couple's boats. We don't know if he was okay with it. We don't know if he wasn't. But the face mask thing, I am side-eyeing a little bit, right? But then there were a lot of odd things. Sometimes in the text messages, you would see that she also seems kind of toxic. They both seem not healthy for each other. She seems a little bit controlling, is what people say. And that makes people question her story. I don't know, okay? He's saying all of it are malicious rumors and are false. She's saying that it's all true, and it gets very strange. Weibo scrubs him from the trending list. Okay, so at one point for a few hours, all the top trending is Haiyang scandal, Haiyang expose, Haiyang fiance, blah, 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 blah. And then within a few hours, all of a sudden, the top trending is celebrity wears puffer jacket in October?
What does that mean? Celebrity wear
It's
puffer
like
jacket.
Billie Eilish was seen wearing a puffer jacket, but it's only November. That was trending on Weibo, and everyone's like, we know what's going on here. These are not real trending topics. We're just trying to hide the swimming topic right now.
Oh, so Weibo was hiding it?
Yes.
Why is that?
Some people think that he's very well connected. So he's using his connections to suppress that information.
I see.
Perhaps it's because he's a national champion and maybe the nation does not want that or something. You know how it be if you know how it be on Weibo. So then she brings up a whole thing about it and she's like, see, he's so connected, blah, blah, blah. I can't even tell my side of the story. Then it gets really weird. Then someone starts thanking her for saving their brother from human trafficking. They start saying, like, my brother was taken to a foreign country to be human trafficked, and I called Interpol, I called the embassy, and nobody would help my brother, but Susie is so well connected that out of the goodness of her heart, she saved my brother. And everyone is thinking, they're looking up this poster, who's posting it, and everyone's like, wait, so your brother went to this foreign country And they respond, no, this one, ha ha ha. And people go, if your brother was almost taken into human trafficking, I don't think you'd be ha 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 in the comments right now. Okay, so the conclusion the netizens have come to is it seems like Susie might have orchestrated this for good publicity. Felt like a weird promotion she was doing for herself using such a crazy topic, because people were saying, no, we should believe people, they're not lying. But then for her to allegedly use human trafficking to make herself look good, people are like, oh, well, now we don't know. Like, the credibility feels shaky if she's willing to do that, because that's crazy if that's true. Because there just doesn't seem to be evidence that she did save someone from human trafficking. And the story is just so batshit crazy. It's like a Mission Impossible Jason Bourne level crazy. It doesn't make any sense. So now netizens are just really lost on how to feel. Wait, by the way, I'm giving you guys an audio update like days. I want to say like a week later, because as we were done filming, more shit hits the fan. An audio message gets leaked, and in it, you hear Susie tell Haiyang along the lines of, take the car to Hangzhou right now. Tomorrow, you don't have your event anymore, and you don't need to go to your fucking training. Write in your resignation letter right in front of me. Write your retirement letter right in front of me, and tell your coach that you're not returning to the team, and tell him that you're quitting. If you say you can give up anything, show me something. Haiyang then responds on the audio tape, what do I do after I type it out? She tells him, then you just stay in my house. When they've confirmed your retirement and they no longer need you to return to the team, then you can leave. Susie is basically demanding that Haiyang retire from the only thing that he's worked his entire life to try and achieve, just to make sure that he can't take it back, that he can't convince the coach he's not actually resigning. She's demanding that he stay holed up at her place until it's basically set in stone. So a lot of Chinese netizens, once this audio tape gets leaked, people start turning, they start changing their minds, and it gets worse. Susie says, transfer your earnings to me, transfer them to my card, and write them in as a gift. Apologize to me about everything, including your parents, retire, and you're not allowed to have kids. Do it. The revelation of this whole voice note has so many Chinese netizens turn on Susie. I would say that most Chinese netizens, from what I can see, they almost kind of feel bad for Haiyang. They admit that his text messages threatening to expose the sex videos are really bad. Like, it's really, really bad. But majority of Chinese netizens think that he only said those things because he was pushed into a corner. They're saying, like, the way that she's speaking to him, and I obviously don't understand Chinese, but I will say the tone I hear is very ear-pinching.
不用去他妈的什么训练了，当着我的面打辞职报告。
我在你那边打完之后呢？
就在我家待着，什么时候确认批准你退役，什么时候不用归队训练，你再走，必须要做到。
The way she's yelling at him, the way she's trying to force him to retire, it feels like she's very controlling, if not borderline manipulative, and she's created this very toxic environment, is what Chinese netizens feel, where it feels like she's just trying to control every aspect of his life. She's since come out, Susie has since come out to state that the audio clip has been taken way out of context. She states that Haiyang was avoiding her, not responding to her. They're going through all these relationship problems. He's out going to events and concerts. She says that he told her that this is a way for her to gain trust in him again. He's willing to give up anything, retire from swimming. So she was like, okay, then do it. She says, I made him do something he would never do, so that he understood that reconciliation is not possible. I think a key reason that Chinese netizens are upset with Susie is later another inside source comes out with information that Susie and Haiyang broke up a long time ago. And Haiyang already returned the Richard Mille watches. He already repaid the $139,000 that she requested. This person also leaked bank transactions to prove that he allegedly returned it. So a lot of Chinese netizens believe that Haiyang probably did mess up. However, they actually believe that Susie is extremely toxic. They're like writing online, either leave or don't be toxic. Yes, maybe he did cheat, maybe he did some bad things, then leave. Like, you don't have to stay in the relationship, feel miserable, feel betrayed, and start getting very controlling, suffocating, and potentially mentally abusive. Allegedly, another insider source states that just as how Haiyang claimed he was going to threaten her with the intimate videos every time they broke up, she would threaten him to expose him online and ruin his career, which obviously I don't think that they're really comparable threats. But Chinese netizens are saying, sure, he threatened something that is not good. It's very bad, but she also threatened him all the time. But the truth is she actually went through it and he didn't. I don't know. Many netizens also questioned the timing of the expose. So they initially thought that they broke up around the Olympics, but it's actually rumored that they've been on really bad on and off terms since 2022. Like they were basically on and off at least until 2023. We're not exactly sure exactly when the final breakup was, but they think the timing is planned because she exposed him right after the 2024 Olympics. Now, side note, there are new text messages that were released after their breakup. She still keeps contacting him. She asks him to quote, "Tomorrow's my live stream debut. Can you come and give me the carnival gift?" It's like when people are live streaming, you donate gifts. This is the most expensive one. It's $4,000. He doesn't respond, to which she texts him back, "Are you sure you can't make it? Then I'll just say that we broke up on Weibo," which is obviously kind of a threat. Now, side note, a lot of netizens are saying that even this request is bizarre. They're saying there's so much context to this. It's not even just the way she's threatening to expose him on Weibo when he says he can't make it, but it's also the fact that this was a national holiday. If a Chinese Olympian who is representing the nation in the Olympic Games is seen spending money on female live streamers, even though it could be his on and off girlfriend, perhaps not, we don't know, it could be seen as very problematic. Like this could put the whole swim team under controversy. Not even just him, because that's the way it works in China. Some netizens say that alone shows her controlling nature because clearly, she's been going around saying, "I care so much about his career. All I did was for his career. I only care about his career. I never wanted anything." But now Chinese netizens are saying, "Well, no, it doesn't seem like you care about his career at all." To which he texts her back, "I can't respond." Susie responds, "Who says you can't come? You're saying this yourself. Fuck, I'll just go on live and expose you tonight. I want to deal with this gift situation tonight. You have to come and send me gifts. You cannot say no. Avoiding and not replying is not going to help. It'll only make me feel more frustrated. How about this? On the 8th, you come into the live stream and you don't need to give a single penny." Which, side note, had Chinese netizens being like, "Girl, wait, we thought you were a successful entrepreneur. What's going on?" Then they dig up an old video of her ranting online about how, quote, "I want to sell products on live stream. I just want to sell things that I usually use, but they don't respond. Like these brands don't respond to me. The brand I want to sell won't even bother looking at me." So now there are 3 groups of netizens. One group, I would say the majority of Chinese netizens, that think that Susie is super controlling and both of them were toxic to each other, but she's the one that brought it online for likely not the best reasons. They're also stating that Susie has been saying very, very negative things nonstop about Haiyang, whereas Haiyang has kind of responded only to clear his name, but never said anything negative about Susie. Another group of netizens think, you know what, I think both of them are problematic and they're both bad and I don't want to support either of them. And until we see proof that Haiyang did not force her to have a termination of a pregnancy and that it was not a mutual decision or that it was a mutual decision, they're upset at both of them. They don't even want to support either of them. And then another group that thinks it doesn't matter. Like Haiyang probably cheated first and Susie likely is only behaving this way because he cheated. Like she's being controlling and being so stressed out and saying all these things because that trust was broken. So the netizens, they're duking it out in the comments. They're fighting it out. One netizen comments, "At first I supported the girlfriend because he's a cheater, but now I hear the audio. I feel like she's so controlling that nobody would last and survive in a relationship like that." But then another netizen comments to that comment and says, "It just took me 0.001 seconds to guess your gender." Another comment reads, "Transfer all the money to my account and note it as a self-willing gift is terrifying." Another comment reads, "Haiyang is so unlucky for meeting someone like this. Thank God they broke up. This level of control is really crazy." Another comment just reads, "Wait, is her story really fake?" And then it starts another argument to which someone responds, "Just look at her story. There's so many plot holes." To which another netizen responds, "To be honest, I don't know." And it's just so messy. And I feel like because there's so much happening in forums and being released with random Weibos scattered throughout, like random posts. I've been trying to translate as much as I can, but I feel like for this one, there must be context that I'm missing. So if you guys are like a Chinese speaker or you guys are lurking on Weibo and all these Chinese social media platforms, please leave it in the comments any additional information. But I want to say the moral of the story is Richard Milles are overrated watches. That is all.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Kim was pretty excited. He had heard that he was being sent to Hong Kong to work directly under Pastor Zheng, okay? He had been part of Zheng's congregation for a little while now, and he always wondered, if I go to Hong Kong, what kind of big things is Pastor Zheng gonna have me do? I mean, this is like a mission trip. Is he gonna have me pray for other people? Am I gonna watch as Pastor Zheng cures cancer? I've heard all the stories of him curing cancer. He would literally touch someone and their cancer was just gone. He's like a miracle worker. I mean, there were so many reasons that all the demons and all the devils wanted to take Pastor Zheng down. Maybe he would watch in real time how Pastor Zheng saved souls. Either way, Kim was excited to be of some sort of help in Hong Kong. But when he gets to Hong Kong, he realizes that his role there would be so much more important than he even originally thought. He just didn't know it yet. So Kim gets thrown into this mail room. That's his job now. He's going to go through all of the letters that Pastor Zheng receives from his followers. The letters are pouring in from all over the world. Pastor Zheng is a very famous person. He was practically a celebrity pastor at this point. There were letters of just pure devotion. People promising to spend their lives praising the Lord, praising God, praising Pastor Zheng. There were letters begging Pastor Zheng to pray for their sick relatives, to save their lives, or pray for them to pass the college entrance exam. So many letters. So many letters. Kim would sort through them on a daily basis. And one day he sees this package in like the little mountain of letters he's going through. And it looked like one of those poster tubes. You know how you send photos and posters through? Like those tubes.
Yeah.
Hard cardboard tubes. And he was intrigued. He opened it. He probably shouldn't have, but he was curious. He opened it, and just hundreds of pictures spilled out of naked female followers, of naked women. They were posing and doing explicit things to themselves. They were completely nude and licking photographs of Pastor Zheng. They were posing together with one another, unclothed. They were in bathtubs doing things. And first of all, he was shocked when he saw these photos. But later on, he would find a hard drive. And this hard drive was filled with videos of these same female followers that he knew were church members that were in South Korea. And these female church members were naked and posing with each other. They were in bathtubs together, screaming, "I love you, our husband. I love you. Our Lord must be so tired. We wish you could join us." They would be in videos posing in lingerie and doing things to themselves on beds. And Kim was shaken up because the whole premise of his church, of Pastor Zheng's church and all of his teachings was that was the original sin. Sin was forbidden. So what was going on? Kim had heard for years, there were rumors that Pastor Zheng had been assaulting his female followers, but he was always told, these are the lies that the devil is making up to try and take down Pastor Zheng. They're not true, but they were true. And now Kim realized when Pastor Zheng had said that his ultimate goal as a pastor was to save the souls of 10,000 young women, what he meant was he wanted to rape 10,000 women. It is believed that Pastor Zheng came very, very close to his goal. As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. A huge source for this episode was a Netflix documentary by the name of In the Name of God, Holy Betrayal. It's been getting so much attention for a lot of reasons. I think the source material itself is so explosive and it's almost salacious. It's a lot. But one of the producers of the show has been getting stalked and threatened since the release of this Netflix series, even before the series was released. There was a trailer that went up. There was news that this was going to air. There was a legal battle in South Korea trying to stop it, trying to prevent this Netflix series from airing. So it's a lot, and it's so scary to the point where we just recently had a trip to South Korea. I have been getting this request for this case for the past 3 weeks, and I just was so terrified to cover it while I was in Korea or like right before Korea. It was terrifying. So this has been a highly requested case that we're talking about today. And before we get into it, a quick disclaimer. I say this a million times, okay? But like one bad religious person does not mean the whole religion is bad. As someone who has an incredibly mild case of religious trauma compared to what we're talking about today, as someone who is not religious at all, I can still acknowledge that I think religion is a beautiful thing when it's practiced the way it's supposed to be. I think religions can bring people together. I think it can bring peace and purpose into communities. So with that being said, this man's actions in no way reflect on the Christian community as a whole, or really any other religion. So with that being said, there was a war waging. There was a war between two different parties, and this is a war that we've never even heard of. It was the War of Exodus and all the female victims of the JMS Church. JMS standing for Jesus Morning Star Church. And then you had the JMS Church. So you had these two parties that were just at war. So on one hand, on the Exodus side, you have countless victim testimonies. There were literal audio clips, audio recordings the victim had taken while she was being assaulted, where the pastor is saying disgusting, humiliating things to her, asking her questions about her sex. Like, they've got mountains and mountains of evidence. They have police reports of kidnappings that had taken place. They have police reports of assaults and just so much. And then on the other side, on JMS's side, you had the Messiah, the prophet, the second coming of Jesus, the man who cured cancer, the man who predicted presidential elections, the man who said, let it snow, and it snowed. It's a war that's not even just in South Korea. This war went from Taiwan to Hong Kong, mainland China, Malaysia, Australia, New Zealand. It was like a global war, and it seems like it's still raging on to this day. So who is the Messiah? Who is Pastor Jung? Who is the center of JMS Church? March 16th, 1945. Objectively was not a good day, okay? World War II is still raging. The Allied powers bombed this historic town in Germany, and I think like 5,000 people were killed. And then in South Korea, Chung Myung-seok was born. I say this with the risk of sounding mean, but literally nobody cared that he was born. Like, babies are born on a daily basis. This one was not particularly special in any way. It's not like he was born and people were celebrating like, oh my God, look at this baby. It's not like he was born and then there were like whispers. Oh my God, this baby's gonna be something crazy when he grows up. Like, there was nothing. Literally nobody cared that Jung was born into a poor family in the mountains of South Korea, far from all the big cities, far from Seoul. He was the third son of 7 siblings. So he grew up with 5 brothers and a sister. So back then, it was kind of customary for poorer families in rural areas to have tons of children because children translated to employees. That's like the sentiment. And it applied here. Jung only graduated elementary school before he dropped out to tend to his family's farm. So he's growing up working on the farm. And one morning, when he's 6 years old, some Christian missionaries come to the village. They're singing gospels, they're passing out Bibles, and they give a Bible to Jung. And he's just like mesmerized by these wafer-thin little pages. The sound that the pages made when he would turn them, the smell. Okay, Bibles have a smell. Most books have a smell, but Bibles have a very distinct smell. I grew up around this smell. It's a pleasant smell if you like the smell of books. But the smell of it and all the little stories depicted in the book, he was obsessed. He fell in love with the Bible. I honestly don't know what kind of free time Jung had. Maybe his siblings helped a lot at the farm, but Jung claimed that he read the Bible cover to cover 2,000 times.
How long does that take usually?
My grandpa was super religious and he rewrote, like transcribed the Bible cover to cover 3 times for his 3 children, and that took like 2 decades. To be fair, he wasn't doing it like nonstop, like a full-time job, but it takes a while. The Bible is this big and the font is this small. But he said he read it 2,000 times. He claimed that he would climb up to the little mountain, find a nice little secluded grassy patch. He would plop down on there and just read the freaking Bible. He said the mountain was his classroom, the Bible his teacher. By the time he was 19, he starts working as a Sunday school teacher. And by the time that he was 20, he was going to nearby towns to try and spread the word of God. But when he turned 21, he gets drafted into the military to fight in Vietnam. Side note, most of what we know about Pastor Jung's childhood is told by Jung. So I'm going to just take it with a grain of salt. Jung said that he went into the military and he was so obsessed with his Christian ideals, his Christian beliefs, that he refused to kill a single person during his entire service. He was literally in Vietnam for the Vietnam War. He said he refused to kill a single person, just flat out refused, which I guess is kind of admirable, right? But he also said that he would just capture people, tie them up, and leave them.
If you think about it.
Leave them to die or?
Yeah, basically to starve to death. If you really think about it, tying someone up and leaving them to starve, potentially starve to death, is just as cruel.
It's actually worse.
More cruel, yeah. But Jung was like, what a good Christian day. And he would just pat himself on the back and walk away. While he was in the military, he was able to save up a lot of money, which he put to use the second that he got out. He bought this local church and he starts rebuilding it, like renovating it. He would, of course, be the de facto leader later. But while he's renovating, he joins another church called the Union Church. They kicked him out. This church was like, your interpretation of the Bible is unhinged. Like, you are way too radical. I don't know what you're doing, but you gotta get out of here. We don't like this. So he decides, these villagers, they don't know me. They're not progressive enough. They're not city folk. You know what I need to do? I need to be around more open-minded people. I'm gonna move to Seoul where I can have these intellectual conversations. So he moves to Seoul, and at this point, he burned through all of his money. So he's literally moving there with his Bible and $300 in his pocket. He starts in this little tiny church, Jesus Morning Star Church, JMS. It's known as Providence, the Providence Church in other parts of the world like Australia, New Zealand, but it's the same church. And it was in his small little studio apartment. And it was a very humble beginning for the start of JMS Church. But Jung had some big old dreams, okay? He wanted to recruit the top university students from around South Korea to join his church. He was sick of congregations filled with old people, families, and all these elderly people. He wanted young, fresh minds. Like, he wanted young people to gather at his church, have a blast, where they could play basketball and then have discussions about the Lord. So you know where he goes? He goes to Seouldae. This is like the Harvard of South Korea. He recruits one student. And that student goes to Yonsede, like the Yale of South Korea, recruits a student from Yonsede, then another university student. And it just becomes like this domino effect that was fueled by word of mouth. By the end of the year, JMS Church would have a presence in all of Korea's top universities. And Jung would do tours at these universities, like as if he's like some sort of motivational speaker / superstar / celebrity. He would do tours at like 18 of the biggest universities in Seoul. He would even do national tours where he visited 10 separate cities to go meet with his followers. JMS at one point was filled with the top minds of Korea, like the future generation. So just think of a church where all of the Ivy League students are part of the congregation. Honestly, I would be intimidated. I would even be intimidated to recruit an Ivy League student into my church because these are the creme de la creme of the new generation. These are business majors, biology majors, chemistry majors, economic majors. No other church in South Korea had this many college students, especially of the elite kind. 90% of JMS at the time were university students. And just to cover all the bases, you know your question, how do you convert that many university students? I'm not saying that higher levels of education have correlations with being able to have faith or not, but I imagine if these students asked me how to scientifically explain the Bible, I'd probably pee myself, okay? I would probably not have a good time, but that's where a lot of context comes into play. JMS Church was at the right place at the right time. So he starts recruiting university students in the 1980s and the 1990s. And South Korea in the 80s was pure chaos. Like hell had broken loose. There was political unrest. Endless protests were being had. There was a dictator. Yeah, there wasn't a president at the time in the 80s, which doesn't really seem that far long ago. There was a dictator at the time who was going around killing anyone who was against him. People in Korea were lost. The citizens just wanted to feel purpose. They wanted to feel like they knew where they stood in this shaky world, especially young people. They felt like they had this fire in them, you know, to want to belong to something, to try and fight for a better future. So it's said that in South Korea at this time, the younger generations, they started breaking off into these two main groups. One group were students that were joining political activist groups. So these groups focused on talking about politics. They were basically little politicians. They were debating politics, demonstrating, organizing protests. Then the other group of students would turn to religion to try and make sense of things. Mm-hmm. But a lot of these top university students, they did not like a lot of churches.
Because they're like, but you can't argue with me about evolution. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. I literally studied this. Like, you don't know what you're saying, right? But Pastor Zhang was known to love science. That's what he claimed, okay? He said that the Bible is not necessarily verbatim the truth, like a lot of different churches interpret it. He said the Bible is a giant metaphor. And he would always be able to bring science into his explanations of everything. And I say, quote, scientific, like, because I'm sure in the beginning it was a lot more scientific, but slowly over the years it becomes incredibly unhinged and honestly insane, if I'm being honest with you. So for the time being, Pastor Zhang, the leader of JMS, was praised by these university students for being logical, rational, scientific, not denying science or evolution. He was known as being very progressive. He explained again, Bible is a metaphor. You don't have to take these stories literally. He would even say things like, in this passage, it says Jesus came down on a cloud. Do you guys really believe that? He didn't come down on a cloud. Let's be real. It's like, it's a metaphor, you know? So these kids are like, I like it. I like that a lot. Okay, I like you, Pastor Zhang. They really liked Pastor Zhang. They were honestly amazed when they found out that he only had an elementary school education. I mean, they were confused how he could grasp such complex metaphors that they were having difficulties with. He understood everything. He answered questions that the Catholic Church and Protestant churches had a hard time answering. And none of these students just like went to church. Okay, none of these university students would show up on a Sunday, sing a couple songs, hee hee ha ha, and leave. These students were so dedicated to the JMS church. They would participate in all of the church activities. If you guys have never been to a Korean church in the States before, I don't know if other churches do this, but it's very common for the church to turn into a community hub of sorts. I remember growing up, there were these basketball competitions, little church Olympics, like talent shows that were held by the church. It wouldn't just be our church members attending. Members of other churches would attend our events and then we would go to their events, and it just became this big social event. JMS did that, but they took it to a whole new level. It was basically a Coachella, but religious. They would have these massive events and gatherings and parades where everyone from every school, all the top universities were invited to have a weekend playing soccer, volleyball, organized games, organized competitions. Each university would even have their own cheerleaders walk in the parade. It felt more like a college football game than it felt like church. Modesty.
Wow, he made it really cool.
So, like, very fun. Even if you weren't religious, you almost wanted to go because you're like, oh, my friends are going. Modesty was kind of out the window, which I think is totally fine. I personally don't see why you need to dress a certain way just because you're religious, but there were like modeling competitions at these events. Cheerleaders wearing not skimpy outfits per se, but just to give you an idea, if I ever wore that to church when I was growing up, I would be sent home and called a devil's slut, okay?
And this was back in the days in Korea. So it's 10 times worse.
Yeah, even crazier.
Yeah.
Like more unheard of. Like those are the types of outfits people were wearing. It felt more like a K-pop concert in some aspects. It seemed like a lot of fun. Again, people just wanted to go even if you weren't religious. It was great marketing, if you ask me. But everything comes with a price. These events are not free to run. In fact, it probably takes a lot of money to host even just one event. University students are not known for being loaded. They're not known for having just so much cash. So how is the church affording all of this and more? Feeding the poor. That's how. University students would spend their weekends on the streets in Seoul asking for donations to feed the poor. They would sell water purifiers, bags of peanuts, water bottles, like literally whatever you could think of. They were selling it. They would say, hey, I'm fundraising for the JMS church to feed the poor on behalf of the poor. Would you guys like to buy this water purifier? So many people were like, oh my gosh, tell me about you go to Seouldae? You're religious? Give me 3 water purifiers. At the end of the day, they would rush back to Pastor Zhang, hand over all the money that they collected. And this is how the university students spent their weekend. And what does Zhang do with all this money? Does he feed the poor? He bought a Mercedes. A lot of his followers kind of raised their eyebrows at that one. But they thought, he works so hard. He works tirelessly to spread the word of God and to save humanity. Maybe if this car brings him even an ounce of joy or comfort so that he can keep doing what he does, like who are we to question him? How else is he going to travel from his 250 different churches without his Mercedes? At this point, Pastor Jung had 250 churches in South Korea.
What?
250 churches. A former follower said, well, now I know that I was performing slave labor, but back then, I thought I was devoting myself to the Lord. It probably didn't hurt that Jung, like most cult leaders, was surrounded by power and fame, and he was very convincing and charismatic. Like, he had a way of making you feel special. One follower remembers he was so nervous to meet Jung for the first time. Everyone around him had spoken of Jung like he was some god, like he was some sort of celebrity. And then when he finally meets with Jung looks at him without even skipping a beat. There's no awkwardness. There's no, oh, I'm so intimidated. He just grabs the follower's hand and says, I've been expecting you. You showed up to me in my dream. And this guy feels like, oh my God, Jung is recognizing me. He sees me. I'm special. I feel saved. So they, the followers, just like Jung, they wanted to save more people. They wanted to save souls, especially beautiful young women that were over 5 feet 6 inches tall. Jung told his followers to specifically recruit and save the souls of 5 feet 6 inch tall women that were young and attractive. He said they need the most saving. Trust me.
What does he say that with so much confidence?
Yeah. Side note, there was a victim who said that the way that she was recruited into this cult was bizarre. I do want to mention that South Korea may or may not have a little bit of a cult problem, but maybe it's not that big of a problem because I wasn't approached by a cult this time that I went. But if you are a foreigner visiting South Korea and you see someone come up to you on the street and tell you how pretty you are or how you're glowing or how nice you look or ask you to give them directions, you're being recruited into a cult, most likely. So I would just say, well, there's a new trend of what you should say. Because there's like a whole trend in Korea of like everyone asking, what are you listening to right now? And they say New Jeans Hype Boy. So they say when you're getting recruited into a cult, just say, oh, New Jeans Hype Boy and walk away. It's just messing with a lot of cult leaders, I tell you. So just beware. A woman approaches this victim on the street and is like, oh my God, you're glowing. You're so pretty, right? But this time it wasn't as creepy because the woman, so JMS cult, most of their members are young. Most other cults, they're like ajumas. They're like middle-aged women who are coming up to you on the street like, you're so pretty, you're so pretty. You automatically are kind of like, this is weird. But when this young college girl that's about your age is trying to befriend you on the street and she's like, you're so pretty, you start feeling like maybe this is my friend. But this girl tells the victim, hey, so how tall are you? That's really random. Honestly, I don't know. I haven't measured myself, like maybe 5'5", like a little under 5'6". Oh, okay, so you're basically 5'6". I guess you could say that. That's so, yeah, sure. And she's like, oh, okay, good. Why don't you follow me? It's just so bizarre. So Jung had this absolute fixation on tall young women, preferably with pale white skin, and he wanted to rape as many of them as possible. As Jung's popularity grew, so did his arrogance and his fascination with these women. He just becomes more and more ballsy. He was always seen surrounded by a swarm of young, beautiful women, which is kind of odd for a church leader. In any other context, if you saw Jung out and about, you would think he's like an old-time trot singer. Or like an older actor that has fangirls surrounding him, like not a pastor, not in a million years would I think that's a church leader. But the indoctrination was already so deep at this point. His followers believed that not only was he right, he was above them, holier than them, knew more than them. They started to suspect that he was the Messiah. Let me tell you why. Well, first, Jung started openly telling everyone that he was the Messiah, but that's not why, okay? He was here, he said, to complete the testament. He was here to fulfill the prophecy. In fact, because he was fulfilling the last prophecy, Jung told his followers that he had a higher status than Jesus Christ himself. And in order to prove this, he did some weird calculations in his head. So he pulled some random dates and numbers from the Bible, and he said, what is 1446 plus 500 years?
1946.
Yeah, the 500, or that's the year of Luther's death plus 500 years, which means the new Messiah would be born 1945, 1946, depending on the Lunar New Year. It's just, you know, it's just funny because guess when I was born? 1945, which is kind of strange considering that 2.9 million babies were born in 1945, so I don't know why that made him special. And to top it all off, he was born March 16th, 1945. He argued that his birthday was 3/16, March 16, and that stood for John 3:16. The verse in the Bible, John 3:16 reads, "For God so loved the world, he gave his one and only son." Therefore, if you are doing the mental cartwheels that Jung was doing, Jung is God's one and only son. Jung is Jesus. I just want to add another disclaimer here, okay? It sounds absolutely unhinged and far-fetched from the outside perspective. Like, it's almost laughable to us, right? How dumb it sounds. It sounds like those little kids that have been dating for the first time, and they're like, you were born on this day, I was born on this day, add it up, get this number divided by pi, and you know what the number 8 is? You know what else is 8? The words, I love you, is 8 letters. Exactly. Like, that's what it sounds like. But you have to remember, no cult starts like this. Like, you don't just walk into the doors of a church and this man is up there like, divided by pi, and I'm 1945. Like, this is not how it starts. This is after months of listening to sermons that make perfect, logical sense in your head. You're surrounded by this infectious energy of people being so positive and welcoming and accepting and so excited about something. You feel like you have this purpose in life and you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself. This is after months of you hearing about the miracles that he's performed, and you even see bits and pieces of evidence of it. It's not even just rumors. He prayed for snow in front of the whole church. There was no chance of snow that day or even the next day. Even the news weather forecasters never mentioned snow. Well, what do you know? It freaking snowed. Puzzling. But these types of things keep happening. He predicted who the next president of South Korea would be. Not only that, he predicted how each candidate would poll and how they would rank before the rankings were released. He predicted it with 100% accuracy. Then you hear about another situation. You see that guy over there? That guy? And his mom? His mom was diagnosed with terminal cancer. The doctors gave her a few weeks to live. The son begged Pastor Jung to pray for his mother. Pastor Jung went to see the sick mother, touched her and said, "You will live." It's been years. She's still alive. But that's not all. One time, this woman was diagnosed with cancer, okay? She runs up to Pastor Jung, throws herself at his feet, crying, begging, like, you can't let me go. Please, I need to be cancer-free. I've got all these things I need to do in my life before. He said, you are cancer-free. She gets a call from the doctors the next day saying, hey, I'm so sorry. I think we misread your charts. You do not have cancer. You're cancer-free. So the victims are slowly, carefully, methodically indoctrinated that when they get to the point of him calling himself the Messiah, it makes logical sense in their mind. So please, let's just be careful about what we say about the victims in this case. I saw a lot of online discourse about how, oh my God, I would never fall for something like this. Like, how do people actually believe this? I'm a firm believer anyone, like you, him, me, like literally anyone can fall victim to a cult given the right circumstance, right timing, like right place in your life. It's scary. So, side note, if you're wondering how Jung was able to pull off so many miracles, maybe he was the Messiah. I'm not sure about all of them. I don't have the answers to all of them. But I don't know. Who knows? Maybe Jung spread some of these rumors himself. But remember that woman that got cancer and then she got the call immediately after, the day after, saying that, hey, we misread your charts? I'm sure it didn't hurt that her doctor was also a member of JMS. So whether the whole thing was a little setup to have a miracle happen, or the doctor was like, you have cancer, just kidding. It was all a setup for a miracle. Or if maybe the doctor was like, maybe she won't notice she has cancer if I just lie and say she doesn't have cancer anymore. It's just weird. Also, Jung claimed that he studied medicine in his free time for funsies for the past 40 years. And he said that he was more than well equipped to cure a simple thing like cancer. As for the presidential election predictions, it's unclear to this day how he was able to predict the rankings of every candidate. We don't know if he knew someone on the inside. We don't know. But he was able to. being the new Messiah, Zhang decides to make his hometown, his village in the mountains, is the new Jerusalem, he said. This is going to be the sacred place where people from all over the world are going to come and worship at my feet. He even promoted this place in massive newspapers like the Korea Post, encouraging religious tourism to the mountains. He starts using church funds to build this massive compound in the mountains. Thousands of followers would gather there, tent out, in tents in the mountains, to listen to him preach, to be in his presence, to attend events that were like the mini Olympics, modeling competitions, dancing and singing competitions held by JMS Church. It was a lot. It's like an Olympics, Coachella, Burning Man mashed together with heavy religious overtones. He's a literal celebrity at this point. He had tours, nationwide tours, to go meet with more followers. And I'm serious, like this man took himself so utterly seriously. He would throw flowers into crowds of followers and they would just be like scrambling at the ground to pick up the flowers. People would be holding up signs like, I love you, Zhang, everywhere he went. To meet with him one-on-one was nearly impossible. He's constantly surrounded by his young, beautiful entourage. To even see him in person, people were starstruck. They felt honored to be breathing the same air as him. Some followers were even lucky enough to be asked to live on site in one of the compounds. These followers were coincidentally all attractive young women that were over 5 feet 6 inches tall. Their living conditions were deplorable, vaguely reminiscent of sardines shoved into a tin can. They were crammed into this tiny little trailer with no privacy, no personal space, absolutely nothing. But they were told over and over again, you are so lucky to be here. You should be grateful that you can live at such a holy place. Not many can say that.
Like, are they there long term or?
As long as Zhang decides. Some were more long-term than others. And that leads us to the God's brides, the Lord's brides. We've talked a lot about cults, and this one is a little different. One principal teaching at JMS Church was that celibacy was the way to save humanity. Like, no sex is the way to save the future of humankind. Even after marriage, nobody should be having really. It just wasn't allowed, you know? One of Zhang's most famous interpretations was the story of Adam and Eve. He claimed that the apple that Eve ate was a metaphor for sex, which means Zhang was going to save the world from all their sins, all the corruption, by forbidding people from having sex, the original sin. So if you have anyone, you're betraying the Lord.
So no babies? He doesn't want babies anymore?
He has to allow it. Because there are a lot of babies that are born into this cult. I don't think most people got married once they were in the cult. Typically, it's married couples who join the cult. That's another sad thing about this is a lot of people gave their lives to this cult for decades, never got married, never started a family because of his teachings. Some married couples would become celibate. Young university students were indoctrinated and now they refused to get married or even date because they didn't want to betray the Lord. I mean, they were just thinking about the effects of all of this. And I don't want to say that's everything, but the fact that these young students refused to even consider starting families or getting married because they felt this intense fear that they were going to go to hell for it is just really heartbreaking. So nobody's allowed to have sex. Except, of course, Zhang. He claimed he was the Messiah. Therefore, he was the pure Adam. And by having sex with women, he was showering women with God's love through his body. His body was a tool. It's not that he wanted to do this. It's not that he wanted to have sex with women, but he did it for the greater purpose of saving the world. He preached that he himself was suffering by doing this. He was suffering. He was exhausted by using his body as a way of giving God's love. And his followers should suffer for him as well. Suffering was noble. Female followers were encouraged to take cold showers and pray multiple times a day. He even instructed everyone to pray in his name instead of Jesus' name. One former follower remembered he had went home one day. His parents are not in the cult, so it's just him or the church. Sorry, I gotta stop saying cult before they come for me, okay? His parents were not in the church, and he's home one day praying out loud. And at the end, he said, in Zhang's name we pray, instead of in Jesus' name we pray. And his mom stopped what she was doing. She froze and said, what the hell did you just say? Like, why are you praying in some random man's name? Followers were instructed to cut ties with the outside world or people who didn't understand. They were encouraged to lie to their families, to their parents. They were told that these non-believers, they can't tell what the truth is. Even if you tell them the truth, they won't believe you. Our truth is higher than them. So things are really amping up, and it's going to take a really, really dark turn. So the brides. Let's talk about victim A. Victim A was at a JMS volleyball game that Jung was playing in. Nobody was particularly rooting for one team or another. They were basically just rooting for Jung, okay? It's like a volleyball game. All the girls are on the sidelines like, Pastor Jung. And Victim A is on the sideline like, yay, Pastor Jung. And she's cheering as hard as she can, and she thought she was imagining it at first. But Jung kept looking over at her while he's playing the game, like glancing at her. And it made her feel uncomfortable. Like she thought that was kind of odd. But after the volleyball game, she forgot about it. And since this is in the mountains and she wasn't one of the lucky ones to live there, she was setting up her tent. You know, followers sleep in the tent while they're visiting. She's setting up her little tent, and one of these unnis. So unni means like older sister, but it's not biological older sister. One of these unnis came in, and they were called informants in the JMS church. They're basically female followers that were right-hand women to Jung. Their main job was to recruit and indoctrinate other beautiful young women and bring them to Jung to be raped. One of the unnis opens up the tent and tells her, hey, like Pastor Jung wants to see you. Victim A is confused, nervous, kind of excited. She didn't suspect anything weird or bad was going to happen to her. She was hoping to get acceptance and blessings. Maybe she would get prayed for. She was so nervous. She was intimidated by this guy. I mean, the way that he was talked about, it's like he was greater than God. I mean, the power imbalance here is insane. She goes to the building that Jung is in, and there's a line of girls outside, all waiting to go see Pastor Jung. And the unni says, you can go in first since you're new. So Victim A walks past all the girls, opens the doors to see Pastor Jung, who's sitting down, and he tells her, come here, sit next to me. She sits down next to him, and she's just starstruck. Her heart is beating so fast. She couldn't believe that she was sitting next to the Lord. She had no idea what was going to happen. Like, is he going to pray for her? Was he going to help her family, teach her something that would open up her mind? He starts touching her thighs, telling her to come closer. And she just remembered his like hot breath on her neck, and she was so uncomfortable, and she didn't understand, like, is this what the Lord does? He starts whispering in her ear that she was Lord's masterpiece. He instructed her to stand up and pose for him. And the reasoning was he wanted her to be the Lord's cheerleader, but cheerleaders aren't allowed to have bow legs, which means like the legs bend out. They were supposed to have straight legs. So he's like, I need to check your legs. He checks her legs and says, the Lord will be proud of you. He kept calling her beautiful. And when she sat back down next to him, he aggressively stuck his hands in her shirt and started groping her. He closed his eyes and said, the Lord is instructing me right now to check for lumps in your breast to make sure that you don't have cancer. It was incredibly painful, but she had heard and she had been groomed to expect these medical exams. In fact, she was told that if she were ever examined by him himself, she should be grateful. It was painful. It didn't feel right. But she just thought, maybe it's because it's my first time. I don't know. Like, I'm supposed to be grateful for this. He's checking for cancer. He had cured cancer, so that makes sense. Who was she to say no? So even if everything in her gut told her to scream and run out of there, it was like this mental war that she was fighting, like a battle in her mind. Before she could react, he pushes her down on the bed so she's laying flat on her back. And without warning, he tells her that he needs to examine her uterus. He said that the Lord needs to make sure that she doesn't have any cyst. She was terrified. She saw him lick his fingers and announce, the Lord is examining you. And you can imagine what happened next. Victim A was in a lot of pain. She said that she closed her eyes and looked away, and she kept telling him, please, it's painful. Basically telling him to stop. But he responds very casually. It always hurts the first time. She didn't understand what that meant. I mean, the first time I'm being examined, like, I don't get it. So she looks down. He was full-on assaulting her, full-on R-wording her. She said that she froze in fear and she was so confused. And then he starts getting aggressive and biting her everywhere. And it was just so violent. He kept telling her while he's doing this that she's God's bride now. Literally, while assaulting her, he also continues to tell her, you are no longer allowed to look at other men. You are no longer allowed to think about other men because you are God's bride now. If you were ever to marry another man or even think about a man, your private parts would be mutilated. If you ever have children with a man, they will be deformed. Side note, this is something that Jung told all of the brides. They believed it because why wouldn't they? They were terrified and they prayed. They prayed to God that they would never be interested in anyone but the Lord. It was so ingrained in them. One victim even started self-identifying as a lesbian because she was so scared of the prospect of falling in love with a man. A lot of girls said that they struggled. It's nearly impossible for them to want to be with Jung, aka the Lord, so they would pray at night, praying that they would have the tools to love him the way that they were supposed to. They would punish themselves when they didn't feel love for Jung in the sense. Like, it is so heartbreaking hearing that. Like the victim said, they prayed and prayed, but it was just so disgusting, painful, and traumatizing. They thought something was wrong with them. Jung would assault them and make them call him oppa, honey, dear. He told them that they can never think about other men. He would say incredibly unholy, vulgar, disgusting things while he was assaulting them, but then he would claim in the same breath that this was God's love. So the victims, they're just so confused. They felt that they were confused, though, because they weren't good enough believers, like they weren't good enough followers. So victim A runs outside after the assault and runs straight into the onion that had brought her here. And victim A is looking at her like, please, you need to explain the situation because I'm so confused, I'm so traumatized. But the onion just smiles and congratulates her. She said, remember, we can only love Pastor Jung now. We are his brides. How was it? Victim A was shocked. She asked, did the same thing happen to you? And she responds, you might not understand it right now, but in some time, everything will start to make sense. The Onni proceeds to tell her that these examinations, that's what they were calling these assaults, these exams were important. He had already detected serious diseases and cancers during these examinations. He had already saved lives. This was a good thing that Pastor Jung was being so proactive. All the girls that get personal exams should be grateful. Some girls would confide in the Onnis and say, I'm just really confused. I felt like that was rape. And they would say, of course it's confusing. I was confused my first time too. But it's the Lord's love, and you're going to soon realize that. Now, before we go and attack all of these Onnis, I think it's just really complicated. I need to give you a bit more context. All of the God's brides, they started as victims, and I think that they are still victims at the end of this. But one of the biggest roles that you get as a bride is to bring more brides to Jung. They all got brainwashed that all of these brides were being purified, they were being saved, so why wouldn't you want to save fellow women? They were literally brainwashed into thinking this. They were saving these girls, they were doing the Lord's work, they were saving the world. One of the victims / Onni said, when you're his bride, he might not want you anymore. Jung always wanted younger and younger women, and you're getting older. So you bring him beautiful young women and you get rewarded. You feel like you're doing something for the world, for the Lord, for the church. You start to feel important. Sometimes you can even be promoted as a minister or a priest inside the church. And that is how victims turn into perpetrators. So a lot of these Onnis would come out later and say that they regretted everything. They said, it's confusing because you're a victim and then later you're a perpetrator. You create another victim and then they become a perpetrator. And it's like this vicious cycle. And when you're inside the cycle, you can't even see it. But when you get out of it, you start questioning yourself like, I don't even know if I was a victim or a perpetrator in all of this. Am I a victim or am I the most evil person ever? All of the girls feel guilty for becoming Onnis in a sense. They blame themselves afterwards, but they also blame themselves while it was happening. They thought that all this guilt that they had for being an Onni was because they weren't good enough for the role. They felt like they just had more to learn. So again, I think that all these girls were victims. And a lot of these girls were so indoctrinated, they actually legally changed their last name to Jung to show that they were committed to being God's brides. Victims stated that they were so committed, they would go into his room, 4 or 5 girls at a time, sometimes 10 to 15, and he would assault them all at once, one by one. One victim said the most she's seen was about 30 women being assaulted at once. They were told in order to enter heaven, because Eve is the original sinner, right? They need to purify themselves from the sins of womankind, basically Eve. And the only way was to let Jung assault them. They didn't say it like that, but they said, make love with the second Messiah. And it's just sick. He would assault women on the basis of the premise that tens of thousands of years ago, allegedly, a woman picked an apple off a tree and ate it, and now every woman needs to be raped. Once they were assaulted, they were considered property of the second Messiah. They were told that if they ever betrayed him by even looking at another man, they would fall to the greatest depths of hell forever and their souls would rot. Sometimes the girls would be instructed to help wash him in the shower, and he would force his entire bed to be filled with women at night. In the middle of the night, he would just wake up and pull girls on top of him to assault. It said that sometimes he assaulted 50 women in one day. Okay, so he would assault them, but he wouldn't release, if that makes sense. And it was clear that this whole thing was just about power and abuse. That's all it ever was. The victim said it was more like he was marking his territory. He would be assaulting you, claiming you as his, and then move on. Sometimes brides weren't even picked to be purified by Jung. They were just told their life purpose, their godly duty, was to bring Jung a fresh supply of women, and they would be rewarded if they did. And a lot of this was hidden in plain sight. So those like soccer games and events and festivals they would have? Well, Jung would score, this is another thing about the soccer games. Jung would score 60 to 120 goals in one soccer game. The world record held by one professional soccer player is 13 goals in one game. So is this guy Messi reincarnated or what? No. One game would go on for 5 to 6 hours and everyone would just let him score. His opponents, people would literally see the goalie jumping, pretending to block the ball, but they would fall on the opposite way of where the ball was going. They were just letting him win. So for 5 to 6 hours, there were cheerleaders on the sidelines just cheering him on, screaming his name, bringing him water, wiping off his sweat. And in the end, an onion or two would go around, pick some cheerleaders, tell them to go to the bathroom and wait for Jung because he was almost done. They would wait in the showers where they would be forced to wash him and they would be assaulted by him. Side note, what happens if a victim falls pregnant? One victim said that she straight up asked Jung that she was worried. And she said, what happens if we're engaging in activities and I fall pregnant with the Lord? He flat out told her that she would need an abortion. She said it was jarring. This went against the Christian values that she was taught. Like, what is going on here? Another victim said that she had her own confusing moment when she had all this bloody discharge. She went to the doctor and she was told that she had early stage ovarian cancer. They had to remove her uterus. She remembered being shocked and thinking Jung had examined her nonstop. He prayed over her private parts on a daily basis and did routine health checks, but she still had cancer. Another victim said the wake-up call for her came when they were all sitting in Jung's bedroom and they were watching the news. So it's Jung and a bunch of women, and it was about a fire. The news was about a fire that had taken the lives of a lot of people. Jung runs up to the TV and he starts smacking it and he's shouting, "What a waste of puppies." He yelled at the unnies and said, "You should have converted these girls before they died. They should have been brought to me." He was upset he couldn't R-word them before they died in a fire. That's what he was upset about. Another victim, Victim B, had made it out of the JMS church. She tried to move on with her life. She never reported the abuse. She just wanted to forget all of her trauma. Then she got married and had children. And she keeps looking at her children and she's like, I don't want to raise my kids in a world where there's a monster like that out there, just free. She said, when I look at my kids, I can't stay silent anymore. She was recruited into the church when she was a sophomore in high school. She was a minor, a 16-year-old. That's when her nightmare started. She was recruited to join JMS. But Victim B's dream in life was to become Miss Korea one day. So she's studying scriptures at JMS and she tells her Onni, like, I wanna be Miss Korea one day. Like, that's my goal. The Onni says, well, you have to get permission first. I'm gonna arrange a one-on-one meeting with the Messiah the next time he visits. Victim B is like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, I'm so nervous. I'm so excited. She wondered what they would talk about. The Onni said, you need to ask him for permission about being in Miss Korea. Victim B said, meeting someone like him was a once-in-a-lifetime chance for me. I felt like I was getting closer to God. She remembers being taken to the hotel room that he was staying at. She opens the door to his room. and he's sitting there with another woman. The other woman was instructed by Jung to leave, so now victim B is completely alone with Jung, and she finally gained the courage to talk and said, I want to try out for Miss Korea. It's been my life dream. Jung smiled and said, let's see. I just want to make sure that you can handle it before I give you my response. He instructs her to get naked. She thought, maybe the Lord knows something. She thought if Jesus appeared right in front of you and asked you to do something, wouldn't you do it? So she stripped. Jung grabbed her out of nowhere and said, if you try out, other men will try and f*** you. She was frozen in fear. She was so shocked. It was vulgar. It was bizarre. I mean, what is going on? He throws her on the bed, climbs on top of her, and starts rubbing. She was so scared to move. She just laid there, and he kept instructing her to call him baby and honey and all these things. He kept aggressively telling her to reach a climax. And when he was done, he told her that she could never tell a soul of what happened. Another reminder, she's 16. She's a minor. She had no idea what was going on. She always believed that Jung was this pure man that devoted himself to God. She was scared. She felt so alone. She grabbed her pants, ran out of there. He ruined her life. She didn't realize it then, but she recognizes it now. He literally ruined her life. She said the moment that he was doing what he was doing to her and making her call him honey has been burned into her memory since then. Little bits and pieces of these victims' stories were starting to come out. Allegations of sexual assault were swirling starting from 1991. 1991, this is like a million years ago. Just so you know how up to date, this isn't even an old case. He was recently arrested in 2022, like a few months ago. So 1991, sexual assault allegations were swirling. It said that some of the youngest victims of Jung were as young as elementary school children, literal children. It said that he would assault these victims in front of other women. He just felt unstoppable. But for some reason, none of these allegations made it mainstream until 1999, the end of the decade. 4 members of JMS Church were arrested for kidnapping. These were allegations that even the police can't ignore. They open up an investigation and they try to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Miss Huang is the victim. She was 27 years old at the time, and she said that she was a former member of the JMS Church. She decides, this is a cult. This is a cult. She decides to leave the group. She realized that JMS was not what they were saying it was, and she was pretty vocal to the church. She said, I'm leaving because I don't want to take a part of this. I don't want to be a part of a cult. Please stop contacting me. I'm over it. She wasn't planning on going public with anything. She wasn't planning on doing any of that. She just wanted to go home, return back to her normal life. The followers refused to let her do that. They're bombarding her with phone calls, accusing her of hating Pastor Jung, betraying him, being possessed by the devil. And in the same breath, they're telling her to come back to JMS so that they could save her from the devil that she was possessed by. She refused. She's like, no, thank you. You're unhinged. One night, they drag her from her house into a dark van. They kidnap her to JMS's house in the mountains. She saw rows and rows of shoes laid out in the front door, and through the window, she could see that Jung was having an orgy with his female followers. We don't know if she was assaulted on this night, but she was beaten an inch of her life by 4 members of the church. They kicked her, punched her, stomped on her hands. Every inch of her body was badly beaten for 4 hours straight. They said that they were beating the devil out of her, and the picture of their crazed eyes staring at her while they were kicking her in the face, she said she would never forget it. When they were done, they threw her back in the van, and on the highway, she's trapped in the back of the van, okay? And she spots a police car driving right next to her. She looks around. None of the church members are paying her any attention. She stares down the police car, hoping that they would feel eyes burning into the side of their face and look over at her. And she's making weird faces, twisting her face into these bizarre, painful expressions. She just wanted to look so strange that the police would stop the car, but not make enough noise or draw enough attention that the driver or the rest of the church members would see what she was doing. By some crazy miracle, it worked. The police looked at her and were like, that's weird. We need to pull them over. Miss Huang was brought to safety and immediately filed a police report. This comes to light. This hits mainstream media. Same time, those allegations are starting to come back up. The assault allegations are getting more and more attention. More victims start coming out, talking about the horrible things that Jung did to them and the disgusting things that he would say to them. I mean, how do his devout followers react to stuff like this? How do they react to news like this? There's a police investigation. There's an arrest. Literally, 4 of your members kidnapped someone. There must be some truth to all of this. The followers defend Jung with more passion. So this part is weird, but followers said that he predicted this would happen. Back in 1981, he allegedly told his followers that he would be on the news, he would be crucified for something that he didn't do, he would get sued, and all of the undeserving followers would abandon him. But the real ones, they would stay because it's a test of loyalty. So after 10 years of stability, after 10 years of joy, he said they are going to face the tomb phase, which is the hardship phase, the darkest of times. He even predicted the year that it would happen. So now he is telling his followers, I told you guys that we're going to face some hardship and chaos, and this is that time. So his devout followers, they're enraged that he was being falsely prosecuted like Jesus Christ himself. They also felt like their loyalty was being put to the test, and this was their way to prove that they were devoted to the Lord. They raised their hands in the air and they prayed out loud, Heavenly Father, those evil men are trying to crucify our leader. Heavenly Father, please free our leader. Please prove his innocence. They felt like the whole world was against Jung and it wasn't fair. And one of the biggest opponents was a group called Exodus. Let's talk about Exodus. Exodus is the second book in the Bible where Jewish people have been enslaved for generations by the Egyptian Pharaoh. They pray and they almost lose hope, but suddenly God uses the most unexpected person to save them, the Pharaoh's own adopted son, who turns out to be Jewish by blood. This is the biblical story. So miracles, death happen, more miracles, more death happens. And finally, the Pharaoh releases them and they walk out as one big group that's led by the Pharaoh's adopted son. And they walk towards the horizon, towards freedom. They all walk. They're freed. An online forum called Exodus pops up, and it was centered around testimonies of SA survivors from JMS Church. The forum was created by a mathematics professor by the name of Kim Do-young. He taught at a university, and I'm sure he called the site Exodus for a reason, and I'm sure JMS knew the reason. But Professor Kim had heard rumors since 1995 about the Messiah. He even attended JMS Church once to see what it was all about. And he was so shocked. Everything in the sermon sounded so sexual. There's even posters that Jung would hold up in his sermons that were like female anatomy posters of like the uterus and the womb. It was weird. Jung kept calling himself the Messiah. He would say vulgar things, just bizarre things. He called women bitches and sluts. Jung would also be heard in sermons saying, a lot of people say that they can't see God. They're looking for God and they can't see him. Well, here's what I say. Stop looking for him. Look for me. I'm right here. I'm God. You don't know who I am? I'm the Messiah. Professor Kim was shocked. He said Jung was cocky, vulgar, overly sexual. He was stunned. He realized that this was far from a religious group. It was just weird. But he would look around and everyone is like, Amen, amen. Okay, what's going on? Jung would say things like, don't read the Bible. I know more than the Bible. Ask me, I'll tell you how it was. At first, Professor Kim did not know what to do with this information that he just gained from this sermon. He goes home and he's like, well, who am I to judge these religious people? He stops thinking about it. But his girlfriend was working on a paper on contemporary religion, and she told him about how she had come across all of these allegations, these suppressed stories of SA allegations from JMS church members. Professor Kim was so disgusted, he started Exodus to give the victims a place to unite and heal, and ultimately to take down JMS, which they would. But at an insane cost. Professor Kim's dad was almost murdered, and Exodus members were attacked. It gets really crazy. So the website goes from being a casual meeting place amongst victims to this strong activist movement that would be crucial in JMS. Professor Kim said that he had never felt so much rage in his life. All he knew was that Jung needed to be taken down. He recalls when he was much younger and much more volatile that this was the only time in his life where he had thought about killing someone. He wanted to kill Jung. He hoped that members of JMS would see the truth, But they didn't. All they saw was the devil. They thought Professor Kim was the devil reincarnated, trying to take down Jung. They all got into some heated arguments. Professor Kim would call, okay, this is a little weird. He would call JMS HQ headquarters and he'd be like, let me just speak to the fucking asshole. And they'd be like, how dare you call our Messiah an asshole? Listen, you might think that he's Jesus reincarnated, but he's nothing but a horny dog in heat to me, so put the fucker on the phone. The followers were shocked. They were like, wow, he truly is a devil. Okay. And there was a fire being lit under Jung's ass, and he's starting to feel the heat with Exodus, with these allegations, with the kidnapping arrests. And then in 2002, SBS, one of the biggest broadcasting news networks in South Korea, they have a show called The Unanswered Questions, which we've mentioned before in a couple of different cases. They dedicated an entire episode on JMS. They insinuated that JMS was a cult. They exposed Jung for going around calling himself the Messiah, about how he used his position of power to sexually assault female followers. Allegedly, over 100 victims were contacted for information in the making of the series. When the broadcast aired, over 10,000 followers of JMS gathered to protest. They believed media was run by the devil. The devil was out for Jung, the Messiah. He was being falsely prosecuted. One follower even confessed at the time that he contemplated getting a hot air balloon, putting explosives in his backpack, and flying straight into the SBS building to blow himself up and the SBS headquarters up. That's how serious they were. He said the only thing in his mind at the time was to stop the devil. Right after this broadcast, Jung was sued by victims, and he fled the country, okay? He told his followers that he was going to go on a mission trip to convert and save more souls around the world and spread his blessings, but he was literally just a fugitive, okay? He went to Hong Kong, and from there, he traveled around from Malaysia, Taiwan, mainland China, New Zealand. He said that he was spreading the news, spreading the blessings, but he was just going around indoctrinating and raping more women to the point where it almost became a diplomatic issue for South Korea, that this South Korean church leader was going around creating a trail of victims in all these other Asian countries. But even that wasn't enough. Jung would fly female followers out from South Korea to rape them wherever he was. Then he would ship them back to Korea when he was done with them. And he still had a tight grip on his Korean followers. He would send them videos of his sermons that they were told to study and worship. He kept in close contact with everyone. He would send them gifts and letters, and he would demand letters in return. He would even provide phone counseling sessions while he was overseas to his Korean congregates. And while he's on this world tour, basically, his following only grew, and so did the extent of his damage. And side note, this guy has some freaking nerve, okay? Because his followers are taking out loans, remortgaging their homes, selling all their belongings in an attempt to make sure that he would be okay if anything were to happen to him. They're still out there raising money. Meanwhile, this guy is living in mansions, throwing parties. He would rent out an entire resort to throw parties with young, beautiful, tall women. He would fly out girls willy-nilly from South Korea just so he could assault them. 2 victims shared their story with Netflix. They're sisters. They were both flown out to see Jung in Hong Kong. They were recent recruits, so people were still recruiting more girls into JMS, even when Jung had fled the country. They said SBS is a liar, they're the devil, all of these people, they're jealous, they just want to see him come down. He's too good for this world. The sisters believed it. They had heard stories of him being this devoted miracle worker. They had no doubt that a holy man like him could never do the things that he was accused of doing. They were encouraged to write letters to show their support to Jung. They believed in his innocence wholeheartedly. Until it happened to them. The 2 sisters arrived in Hong Kong. They were rushed into his room in the middle of the night. He was laying in bed when they walked in. So this is the first time that they're meeting him. They joined after he fled. And the undies that brought them in told him, give him a massage. The Lord is tired from, saving the world one soul at a time. And they locked the 2 sisters into his bedroom. The sisters were honored. They give him a massage, and he instructed them to sleep on either side of him. So he's sleeping in between the sisters. They kind of thought it was weird and it was strange, but they didn't feel like they were in a position to say no. Sister number 1 fell asleep rather quickly, but sister number 2, she wasn't able to fall asleep. In the middle of the night, Jung thought both sisters were asleep. He leaned over Sister 1 and starts taking her clothes off and assaulting her. He kept whispering her to be quiet and not wake up her sister, who was awake but too scared to do anything. And he whispered that this is the Lord's will and her soul will be damned if she doesn't let him do this. After it happened, Sister number 1 snuck out of the room and ran into the room next to Jung's bedroom, which is where all the unnies were. These are the ones that she trusted, the unnies that had brought her here. And she's trying to shake them awake. And she's like, please, you have to help me. Like, he just raped me. All the lies, they're not lies. Please wake up. She's shaking them. And these unnies are pretending to be comatose. They're basically just staying asleep. They're choosing to ignore what happened to her. It's clear that they're in on it too. The two sisters talk about what happened, and they realize that they were in danger. If it seemed like they were going to go back home to South Korea and start trouble for JMS or say that he R-worded them, they didn't know what was going to happen to them. So the rest of their Hong Kong trip, they had to act like they were enjoying their time while probably being assaulted further. It is unimaginable how the sisters must have felt, like going through the most traumatic thing that anyone can go through in a foreign place, feeling betrayed by the people that you trusted, and to have to act like you're having a blast, to act like you were being blessed. When they were flown back to South Korea, they immediately reached out to Exodus. Professor Kim was disgusted. He said Jung is not a human being. So Professor Kim is amping up Exodus while Jung is abroad, and Jung is getting more and more reckless. He started an international crime spree, really. The reason that he traveled to so many different countries was, yes, to assault more women, but also he just kept stirring up so much trouble legally with local governments that he had to flee countries nonstop. He did this so many times, he was put on Interpol, International Police's Red Notice list. He was wanted for crimes, fraud, and embezzlement. So if anybody caught him entering or leaving a country, they would flag him, ship him back to South Korea in handcuffs. In theory, it was great, but somehow it didn't work. Jung assaulted nearly 100 Taiwanese women, and it became a huge problem. In addition to how horrible his crimes were, it was a diplomatic nightmare. He had been recruiting Taiwanese followers from universities, and once news came out that he had assaulted so many Taiwanese women, Taiwan was absolutely insulted. When it got bad, he flew to Hong Kong, somehow escaping Interpol. It was in Hong Kong that he ran out of pages in his passport. This is not a metaphor. Like, literally, he ran out of pages in his passport, which typically, it's a normal procedure. You go to the consulate and say, hey, I ran out of pages in my passport. Can I get more pages in my passport? And they'll give it to you. But Jung was paranoid. He's on Interpol's Red Notice list. So he decided the only way to get pages in his passport was to bribe the consulate officials. He comes in with a massive, giant crystal worth probably tens of thousands of dollars. An expensive bribe. And it was dumb because nobody at the consulate knew who the fork this guy was in Hong Kong. But he just walked in with a massive shiny spotlight on top of his head in the form of a giant crystal. So they're like, if this guy is trying to bribe us with tens of thousands of dollars, we should probably do a background check on him.
Seriously?
Yeah, so they look into the system. Instead of giving him more pages, they find out that he's wanted. He's arrested on the spot, and the plan was for him to be extradited back to South Korea immediately. But he escapes out the consulate door, and he's free once more. So it's like, okay, Exodus feels like we gotta do something. These international police, they don't care. We gotta do something. So June 2003, Exodus receives reports from their informants that Jung was in Hong Kong. They know this because female followers from South Korea are being flown to Hong Kong to meet with him. Professor Kim tried taking this information to the Hong Kong authorities thinking, of course they're gonna wanna get Jung. He's on the Red Notice list already. But the authorities are like, it's not that interesting. It's fine. Thankfully, Exodus had members who were part of the police force, so they had some investigative abilities. They put together their own rogue mission, and they flew to Hong Kong, waited until the female followers landed in Hong Kong, and literally stalked them, because they led them right to Jung. Yeah, they're like bounty hunters, except they weren't getting paid. So they arrive at Jung's hideout in the mountains in Hong Kong. It's a very remote area surrounded by fields and forests. The Exodus team knew that they couldn't go in on their own. They were outnumbered. So they needed to stake out the area and come up with a plan. They climb up the mountains near the back of the house and they could see through the windows. He was already in bed assaulting the 3 women. They immediately call the Hong Kong immigration officers. They're like, this is proof he's assaulting people right now in Hong Kong. And they said, okay, we're going to send out a full team the very next morning to arrest Jung. Exodus is so excited, but they want to make sure that there's no chance that Jung is going to get away.
When was this?
2003. I know.
This is a long time ago.
Because he gets arrested in 2022. It's a long...
Wow.
I feel like this person, I don't even want to call him... I don't know what to call him, but he's lived like 20 million lives and all of them are horrendous.
He's the devil himself.
Yes, literally. Literally the devil that just keeps reincarnating, coming back. I don't know. So the next morning, Exodus is like, well, we got to show up because there's no way we're going to let the Hong Kong authorities not arrest this guy. So they come the next morning and they have all their filming gear. They climb up to the back of the mountain. They're trying to make sure that Jung doesn't try to escape through the back of the house and up the mountain. But instead, they stumble upon Jung before the Hong Kong authorities get there.
What?
And he's sitting under this mosquito net. And there were the 3 victims from South Korea there. They were wearing bikinis. And Jung's pants are literally around his ankles. Professor Kim literally caught him red-handed. They were recording all of this, by the way. And the Exodus members who took the video said that they were just so stunned. I mean, Jung was stunned too. But the one with the camera said he had been working with Exodus for a while and he was for years expecting this malicious cult leader, a serial rapist, someone so dangerous, so frightening. He was on Interpol's most wanted list. He would have been intimidated by seeing him. He should have felt scared. But with the camera shoved in Jung's face, he was nothing but like this old, sleazy ajushi that looks so cowardly and pathetic. He had his pants around his ankles, literally, and he seemed scared to come out of the mosquito net. So then he finally got out, pulled his pants up, and he starts trying to hit the cameraman, maybe in hopes to get rid of the camera footage. He's like hitting the camera, smacking it around, but the cameraman just hits him right back. He's like, don't touch me. And he starts stumbling back to his house. Jung runs back to his house screaming, you hit me, like a little child. Exodus members were in so much shock. They had flown to Hong Kong to take down this serial rapist, and they couldn't believe that on top of all the other horrible things that Jung was, he was a miserable coward. But at least the nightmare was over. They had him pinned down, they waited for authorities, and Hong Kong authorities took him away in handcuffs. He had been arrested. He was done for. Even all the headlines in Hong Kong read, crazed cult leader arrested for crimes. Crazed cult leader found in mountains. There was a literal video of him with his pants around his ankles. He was going to pay for his crimes. Jung hired a high-profile lawyer, paid $100,000 for bail, and was released. He instantly fled to mainland China illegally without a passport. He kept in touch with JMS supporters, sending them videos trying to do damage control because, I mean, objectively speaking, the video that Exodus took of him was pretty incriminating. He said that he would never assault female followers. Meanwhile, he was caught on camera quite literally with his pants around his ankles. The JMS community was enraged, but not for the reasons that you think. They were disgusted at Exodus and the fact that Hong Kong had the audacity to arrest their Messiah. This was the modern-day Jesus getting arrested by the Romans. And Jung incited violence from his followers. He egged them on. He sent them videos basically waging a war against Exodus. He said in a video, which, side note, these videos get weird. He starts developing a bit of an obsession with white tuxedos. I mean, he already liked white tuxedos, but he really becomes obsessed with white, very crazy, elaborate tuxedos. I guess he's trying to look heavenly and majestic. But he said, I was betrayed. Disloyal, evil people cannot exist. Jesus said that to me himself. There is no war without casualties, and some killings are absolutely necessary. That is what the Lord has told me. JMS members were out for blood now. JMS starts hunting down members of Exodus, following them, threatening them, terrorizing them. They were able to find them because, well, I'll get into that in a second. But their first target was the Exodus law student that had flown to Hong Kong to arrest Jung. He came home to his apartment building one day, And it's just like this small little entrance. Like think of your Asian apartment buildings. There's no receptionist desk. There's no front lobby. It's just a door and a motion sensor light and then stairs and you go to your unit. The front motion sensor light wasn't on that night. Okay, that's weird, but maybe it's broken. He starts walking up the steps and there should be another motion sensor light that turns on, but it doesn't turn on either. He's cloaked in darkness, and that's when he sees a group of people descend down the stairs and attack him with a steel pipe. They're holding like a shiny steel pipe. He thankfully had his law textbook, and he used it to shield his face. He and the attackers tumble down the staircase. He runs out onto the street where there's street lights, CCTV cameras, and the followers, they get scared and they run off. He survived. The injuries weren't that bad, but this was just a practice round for JMS. It wasn't the law student they were after. It was Professor Kim. Professor Kim was pretty careful once he realized how serious JMS was. They're willing to go to the ends of the earth to defend a rapist. He took necessary precautions. He stopped visiting friends, family. He was worried that they would be targeted for their association with him. He remembered emotionally telling his parents, I can't see you guys for a while. You have to be careful. He would constantly call them, nagging them. One evening, Professor Kim was on the phone with his dad. His dad is driving home. And his dad starts screaming frantically on the phone. He's screaming, what are you doing? What the hell are you doing? Professor Kim is screaming, asking, what's going on? Dad, what's going on? There's no response. So he hangs up and he keeps trying to call back. No response. Turns out Professor Kim's father had pulled up to the house. There were men waiting for his car with steel pipes and metal baseball bats. They blocked him from driving forward and reversing. They jumped on top of his car and started smashing the window. Professor Kim's dad opened up his side of the window, just a tiny crack, to tell them that he was going to start driving, like they need to leave, otherwise they're going to get injured. He's going to drive. They didn't care. They came up to the window, forced their steel pipe in through the tiny little crack, and started bashing Professor Kim's father in the face with a steel pipe. He didn't know how long it lasted. 5 minutes? We don't know. He fell unconscious. The men fled. He was found by his other son. And the image of Professor Kim's father would be burned inside of his memory forever. He said that his dad had a hole in his face the size of a baseball. He was lucky to be alive. He was permanently disfigured from this attack. They broke almost all of his facial bones. His mouth would forever be twisted to one side, and one of his eyes would never close again. When he was first brought to the hospital, they were shocked that he was even alive because of that hole in his face. Professor Kim's brother was so traumatized. The doctor said that all the veins on the left side of Professor Kim's father's face had been completely severed. And after all of this pain, after all of this trauma, Professor Kim's dad said that he was happy. He said, had it not been me, it would have been you, son. I'm happy it happened to me instead. And I thank God every day that I was attacked instead of you. Professor Kim said that he felt so much hatred and guilt. He questioned himself for why he even went after JMS, how this could happen to his dad. He thought to himself, how can someone do this? Even gangs in South Korea know not to mess with someone's parents. Gangsters. It was later revealed that there were prosecutors that were in the JMS cult who were able to pull information on all the exodus numbers, where they lived, who their family members were, where their family members lived, their license plate numbers, everything. The police even discovered that the JMS cult members had found a way into Professor Kim's parents' house and bugged it. Planted listening devices. Every inch of that house was bugged. They were listening to Professor Kim's parents for God knows how long. It was utterly terrifying. Professor Kim was shocked. He realized he was dealing with something that was far more dangerous than what he thought. And while it might seem like JMS won the battle, they might lose the war. And sometimes it unravels from the inside. Let's talk about Hong Kong X-Files. This is the story in the beginning of this episode. JMS had a full-blown photography unit. There were photographers that would recruit young female followers to send pictures to Jung while he was overseas, basically nudes. Jung would then grade these pictures and send reports back to South Korea. So he would get hundreds of photos of women in dresses, in various stages of undress, and he would grade them and send the report back to Korea, and the Onions would be like, you gotta be. So you got to do better now. Do you love the Lord? You have to do better. So this is how he graded it. If you're fully naked, you would get an A. If you were wearing a bikini, you get a B+, and if you're wearing short revealing dresses, you get a B. So if you get a B, your onion would come to you and be like, you need to get an A. Do you not love the Lord? They were told the more pleasing the pictures you can send to the Lord, the more blessed you'll be. Then it would escalate to sending videos. They would be encouraged to be nude with one another, do things to themselves, and say things like, my Lord, you call him husband, oppa, dear, honey. They were told that they were helping the Lord with his loneliness while he fought and struggled to save the world. And even if you felt uncomfortable, the pressure was too high to even say no. Most of the girls in the pictures had never even met Jung in person. He would buy lingerie for the followers and have them send pictures of themselves wearing it. And if he found a girl that he liked through the pictures of the videos, he would fly them out to wherever he was so that he could assault them. He would compliment them on the phone. He'd say, oh, you look so pretty. He would encourage them to send more explicit videos and photos. He would even tell the girls, you see, my sweet girl, when a man gifts you lingerie, you basically owe him your body. There was a recorded conversation where the victim is shook by that, and she says, what? He said, it means he loves you very, very much. Don't tell anyone. Since I bought you the lingerie, we're already lovers. You can come see me if you want. What would you do once you finally come here and get to meet me?
너는 저는 보고 싶지?
네?
너도 보고 싶지?
그럼요.
남자가 소개해줄 때나 아니면 그자 소개해줄 때 벌써 다한테 몸통이랑 똑같이 생각하면서 해주는 거예요. 소개 찾을 땐 팬티 찾을 때는 벌써 여유 있는 여자는 아니네.
Isn't he very old right
Yeah.
now?
Yeah. At this point, in his like 50s, soon to be 60s. And these are girls that are like 19. The girl would say, I would like to meet you and say hi. What else would you like to do? I would like to listen to your sermons. There's no time for sermons. Hurry up and come. There were hundreds of photos of women in various stages of undress. There were videos upon videos that were incredibly graphic. And more than that, it was just so heartbreaking to see. Some of them were included in the Netflix documentary. And I've never had to turn off a documentary so many times in my life to just get a breather. To see the mindset that these victims must have been in. I mean, they would be sitting in a tub saying things like, we want you, my lord. Come here, honey. You must be so tired. They would be undressed, kissing and licking photographs of him. There were videos of sex parties and mansions. There was so much. And remember Kim, the beginning guy at the beginning of the story? Kim was a member of JMS and he was in charge of sorting through the mail. He stumbled upon these and he truly did not believe that Jung was capable of stuff like this until he saw the proof. So he took all of this back to Korea, all the evidence, uploaded them online for all the other JMS members to see. And he thought if he could just expose the truth, just like what happened with him, he would see what the truth was the truth. You know, these are not lies that Exodus are spreading. And everyone would leave JMS. But we both know that that won't happen. At least not to the extent that we hope for. Many members of JMS did leave. They were utterly disgusted. But other victims started to come out. A victim in China said that she was so badly raped by Jung, it would be categorized legally as sexual torture. He had dragged her into a shower and shoved a scalding hot water faucet into her body parts. And she was screaming, and he told her to stay quiet or he would rip her private area off. And he proceeded to slap her around as he assaulted her. So all of China was outraged by this, by Jung. But he was still free, and he would still have followers. Many members were told nonstop that this was the devil testing them, that this wasn't true. And if it was, Jung had a good reason for this. He was saving them. They wanted to send these pictures to him. Mainstream media picked up the news on this one, and the files would later be known as the Hong Kong X-Files. The public was disgusted, outraged, but still, JMS had a strong following. And Jung was already on the run when this happened, so nothing else has changed. He started moving around a lot more, and he still flew out members from South Korea to assault. And there are videos of him holding these massive Christmas parties where girls were wearing these red mini dresses with white fur on them. Again, nothing I would ever be dead caught wearing near a church. Otherwise, I would be told I'm going to hell for being a sleut, which is a different type of trauma, I guess. But they're dancing around him, dancing on him. And it just felt like the Hong Kong X-Files didn't even impact him that much. Exodus never gave up, though. Things were silent for about a year until one morning in 2007, the Ministry of State Security of China reached out to Exodus. This is like the CIA of China. They called Exodus and said they believed that they could lure Jung out. They were hosting a culture exchange event between China and South Korea in China, and they believed that Jung would show up. They were right. He showed up. They weren't able to apprehend him at that moment. They failed, but they tried again, and this time they successfully arrested Jung in China. And almost instantly after this arrest, Jung's facade of being the Messiah, the leader, the savior, the God, it all came crumbling down. He instantly started acting insane to garner sympathy from Chinese officials. He starts acting similar to like a little ajashi who's nervous. He was moaning and covering his mouth and touching his face frantically like he's losing his mind, which is not what the Messiah would do. Speaking of, Jung was like, "You think I'm the Messiah? You think I'm Jesus? That's insane. I'm just a little pastor of a church." He would scream, "You have it all wrong. I'm just the leader of one church. I didn't touch anyone. I'm not the Jesus. I'm not Messiah. I'm just a pastor." He would slap himself and make weird noises throughout the interrogation. In another interrogation, he got down on his knees and crawled towards the prosecutor, rubbing his palms together, begging him, "Please, sir, forgive me. This is all a mistake." It was shocking for the public. This powerful cult leader who had spent decades torturing women was on his hands and knees. And the church still stood by him. Many of them sold their homes to pay for his attorney bills during this legal battle. But this time, he wasn't fleeing. So he was extradited from China to South Korea to stand for his crimes. And JMS, again, never left his side. They're raising money. They're raising so much money trying to silence victims. They're thinking, hey, no victims to testify at a trial? No crime. One victim said, "They came to me and offered me $500,000. I rejected. They came back with $1 million. I rejected. They came back with an empty check and told me whatever I wanted, I could write down and have. And I rejected." When money didn't work, JMS started threatening victims, threatening to kill their families. Only one victim that was scheduled to testify during the trial backed down, and the rest refused. They all testified, and even in court, they were being threatened. So you know how in trials, you can have people come and sit and visit and see the proceedings? JMS had known bodyguards, basically, the one that would beat people up and track people down. They were in the courtroom trying to intimidate the victims while they were testifying. It did not work. The women fought to gain their strength back, and now there's no stopping a woman like that. There just isn't. When Jung realized he had made a grave mistake, he made one last pathetic attempt to stop the proceedings. While a victim was testifying, Jung starts convulsing and foaming at the mouth, screaming, "I can't breathe." Paramedics rush in. He's completely fine. He also took the stand at the trial, and he said a lot of wild things. He said, "I never raped anyone. There was this one incident, I remember, where naked followers approached me, and they forcibly took my clothes off. And all I did was hug them in that moment, but no penetration. I swear." This next part is really heartbreaking, but he admitted during the trial publicly that he was not the Messiah, and he claimed that he never said he was. This was shocking to his followers. Even the ones who had given up everything to help him fight the legal battles, they thought, why would he say that? Why would he do that? Jesus would never do that. The real Messiah would never deny who he is. They gave up everything for the man that he believed to be the Messiah, and he was slapping them in the face by saying that he wasn't. One follower was so devastated because I think the reality came crushing down on her. She threw herself off a building and took her own life. So remember, these are all victims. They had dedicated most of their lives. They had ruined their families, their interpersonal relationships. They had never gotten married, never dated. They had no social life, no family. They gave up everything, all their money, for this man that they believed is the Messiah. They believed that they had a purpose and they were doing good. Turns out he was a rapist and a coward. I just can't imagine how you even come to terms with that. In 2009, at 63 years old, Jung was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Only 10 years. After thousands of victims, 10 years. After decades of traumatizing generations of people, torturing them, all the damage he had caused, 10 years. It wasn't fair. People thought that he should die in prison for what he did. Yeah, but at least they hoped, you know what? Okay, he's going to go to prison. JMS is going to collapse. He was thrown in prison in 2009. Now, if you guys watched the Netflix documentary or saw the trailer, there is one victim who was kind of the center of the story. Her name is Maple. Jung was thrown in prison in 2009. Maple would join the church in 2012.
What? It's still going on?
And she would be raped by Jung countless times. She joined the church while he was in prison, and she was visiting him as a devout follower. She didn't believe the rumors. You know, they were all set up by the devil to test everyone. She believed in Jung's innocence. She believed he was wrongfully convicted. So JMS did not crumble, and a new chapter for JMS had started. A new chapter of victims had started. JMS followers were still active, especially online after his conviction. They were online spouting this narrative that the current media environment is toxic towards all religion. They argued that Jung was being prosecuted for being good because mainstream media doesn't like religion right now. They said even if a religious movement has only positive effects in the lives of young people, the media is going to continue to categorize every religious group as dangerous or manipulative or like a cult. They argued that the government and everything that anyone had on Jung were all manufactured lies. New followers from all over the world were still joining JMS, or the Providence was the other name for the JMS church. Like Liz. Liz was an Australian victim who spoke out later in 2014. She said that she joined Providence when Jung was in prison. She remembered in Australia, a Korean woman approached her asking if she wanted to fill out a survey. That's how she joined the church. By the end of the year, she moved into a house filled with other church members, and she just remembered how everyone was talking about how Jung was falsely convicted, and she believed it. She was given a double picture frame. One side had a picture of Jesus, and the other side a picture of Jung, and she was instructed to pray to both of them, Jesus and Jung. And she had the honor of becoming an evergreen. This is the titles the girls were given in the Providence section, and they were told that this is the greatest honor. You're basically God's bride now. You can never get married. You can never look at another man. You are for God. Liz was encouraged and told that she needed to send Jung letters while he was in prison, and a lot of them became very quickly intimate. She ended up sending pictures of herself in bikinis. She recalled Jung would write back to her saying things like, "Women are more beautiful when they're naked." He told her that her pale white skin aroused him. So Liz was eventually asked to fly to South Korea and visit Jung while he was in prison, and she did. I know what you're thinking. Liz visited a convicted serial rapist and molester in prison. But two things to remember, because I see a lot of people victim blaming with this case. Liz is a victim. She was indoctrinated, taken advantage of. Groups like this, they can spot a weakness from a mile away, and they're going to use it to their advantage to convince you that what you're doing is right for you, the family, the world. And the second thing is, why the fuck is prison letting him have young female visitors to begin with? Like, I don't understand that. Why is he even allowed to receive nude and or bikini photos from young women? But he was.
Yeah, he's basically doing the same thing he's been doing.
Yeah, and they're like, well, now you get free meals. Basically. So Liz, she ends up falling into the vicious cycle of victim to perpetrator pipeline. She starts helping recruit more young women. The JMS Church ran a modeling group at the Australian National University campus. So it was easy for her to recruit beautiful young and tall women. Even in prison, Jung had learned nothing from his crimes. Looking back, of course, Liz says she regrets everything. And she genuinely believed that she was saving people. She genuinely believed that she was doing the right thing. JMS even told her Satan uses your parents to try and convince people to get out of the group, to recant them from being saved. So they convinced her to stop talking to her parents altogether. And once she did that, she felt like there was no going back. She said when you're in it, you're brainwashed into thinking that life will be horrific if you ever think about leaving. Not only will you go to hell, but your life itself will be horrible. You think, if it's hard now, this is nothing compared to the agony of leaving. Luckily, Liz got out before Jung was released from prison. But Maple was not so lucky. Okay, Maple is a really pivotal part of this story because she's the one that gets him rearrested. Maple was born in Canada in 1994. Her parents had moved to Canada from Hong Kong, and they were trying to make it as immigrants. For a while, things were good until they weren't. Her family moved back to Hong Kong, and by the time that Maple was in high school, Her life was just very unstable. Her parents were constantly fighting. Maple was getting bullied in high school. She just felt very lost, alone and vulnerable. She's a sophomore in high school, so second-year student. She went to the mall with her sister, and she was approached by this young college girl. And it was just a nice conversation. They exchanged numbers, and this 언니 kept calling her, wanting to meet up with her and talk to her about life. Maple ignored her at first, thinking, okay, this 언ni's kind of weird. But one night, she felt particularly lonely and vulnerable, and she just reached out to the 언니 and texted her, what even is the meaning to life? Like, what is the meaning of love? The 언니 starts comforting her and referencing the Bible and tells Maple, God created men with purpose. And that purpose is love. God loves people. God loves you a million times more than a parent could ever love you. Maple said that she was moved. She didn't realize love like that could even exist, and it made her feel hopeful. She starts meeting up with the 언니, who is so nice and welcoming, and Maple grew to really trust and admire her. She was introduced to other members of JMS, and they too, they're very nice and warm and welcoming, and she's like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm finding my place in life. She said that she found forgiveness and freedom with JMS. The community was always there for her to hold her up whenever she fell down. She just didn't feel so alone anymore. She was told that Jung, their leader, was put in prison, but it was all fake. It was the devil who put him in there. They told her that Jung was in prison to bear the sins of mankind. He was doing it for us. He was sacrificing himself for mankind. And that is true love. Side note, while in prison, Jung did request some very, very odd things from his followers. His inmate number was 1178. So he's inmate 1178, right? Just a random systematic number. And he told his followers, if you pray at 1 a.m., 1 p.m., 7 p.m., your life will be 8 times better. 1178. Also, number significance for no reason strikes again. He said 1178 is also the total length of the Korean peninsula in kilometers. So, I don't know what that makes him. Mr. Korea? I don't know. Okay, I digress. So, like Liz, Maple remembers early on the members were asking her to take pictures of herself in her bikini to send to Jung while he's in prison. It started off really slow. Her 언니 asked her to come swimming with her. And while they're goofing around in their bikinis swimming, she's like, let's take pictures to send to Jung. But then the pictures got more and more scandalous, and Maple just remembers being confused, and things were escalating so quickly she felt like she couldn't say no, and nobody else around her seemed alarmed. Maple tried to reason with herself, these are for the Lord who loves me and already knows everything about me, so it can't be bad. She remembers telling JMS members that she never lived a clean life. She said that recently she had drank and smoked because she just wanted to get rid of her life problems. She was a sinner, and JMS was like, no. Love the Lord with a pure heart now. You will be purified once you meet the Lord. And with that, she was requested to visit Jung in prison. She just remembered being so happy. This was like the opportunity of a lifetime. She was reminded over and over again by everyone, not everyone gets to see him in prison. You should be grateful. She remembers crying because she felt so moved by him. She started visiting him frequently while he was in prison, and she would just cry and pray with him. She would cry, dear God, our dear Lord is suffering so much in prison for all of us, for all of mankind, for all of our sins. I will spread the word to more people. So please just let the Lord be released soon. Please. Her true nightmare would begin when Jung was released. In 2018, Jung was released at 73 years old. He was put on the sex offenders list and was ordered to wear an electronic anklet for 7 years, which he compared the electronic anklet to the nail that crucified Jesus Christ. Professor Kim was devastated when he was released. The founder of Exodus, he said, it felt like a monster had escaped from a zoo. Far more dangerous than a tiger or a lion, had broken out of its cage and was released back into the world. After his release, he goes back to his mountain compound where his followers are eagerly waiting for him. They had welcome banners for him. They cried. They performed dances and songs that they had been prepping for him for the past couple of years. At this point, Maple had been a part of JMS for 6 years when he's released. She is a devout follower at this point, and she quickly becomes one of Jung's favorites, like one of his right-hand women. She's constantly being rewarded. She was forced to dance and sing at massive events. She was kind of like a local celebrity inside of JMS. Jung acted like no time had passed since he had been in prison. He went straight back to preaching and assaulting. Honestly, I think he became a bit more unhinged compared to before he went to prison. Maple did everything in her power to be someone that Jung and JMS would be proud of. And one day it seemed like her efforts were paying off. She was asked to keep Jung company one night in his residence. Her auntie told her, "You'll be sleeping here tonight to take care of the Lord. I have some things I need to tend to." She obliged. She showered, got dressed in her PJs, set up a blanket on the ground in Jung's bedroom because that's what she was told. And she laid down on the floor and she thought it was weird. You know, it was kind of intimidating that she was going to be alone with him in the room, but she would do anything for him, like he's the Lord. So she falls asleep and wakes up to Jung touching her. She was paralyzed with fear, and he starts touching her everywhere, and he digitally assaults her. And he told her, God is here. God is giving you his love. God loves you. God has chosen you, but you cannot tell your father because he might misunderstand. Maple recalls what happened on the Netflix documentary, and you can just see how hard it is for her to even tell these stories, to like think back in that moment. And it's just really heartbreaking to watch. She would later ask the auntie, like, what happened? I'm so confused. This happened that night that I was alone with him. And she was told, can't you see, Maple? He adores you so much. You're just so pretty. And Maple's like, I think I might leave. Listen to me. I left you with him on purpose. I was trying to give you a chance to be loved, a chance to get closer to the Lord. Maple is like, oh, well, I'm confused and embarrassed because maybe she's right. I should feel lucky that the Lord loves me. I mean, most people would die to be loved by the Lord. Okay, so Maple stuck around. She was invited back to his residence, and over the next few years, she would be continuously raped by him. The first time it happened, Jung announced that the two of them were going to be praying together inside of his bedroom, but instead he kept calling her beautiful, and he instructed her, and I quote, "Get on all fours on the floor like a cat." Maple was too scared to say no at this point. You know, she had been in JMS for almost a decade. She's fully indoctrinated in every sense of the word. That night, he assaulted her. She was bleeding. It was painful. And all she wanted was for him to stop. And he told her, you've been ruptured now, and your soul is so big and pretty now. You should never change. Maple left confused and disgusted. But she was more disgusted about herself. She said she was disgusted for being disgusted because this is the Messiah. Whenever she felt traumatized or upset about what happened, about what he did to her, she would convince herself she's feeling these things because she's unworthy of love from the Lord. In the documentary, I had to turn it off in so many points. Watching Maple sob while she talked about how she blamed herself, I have never in my life watched a documentary and wanted to jump through the screen so bad and hug someone and then go hunt someone down and punch them in the face so badly. She literally said she begged God every day to give her the ability to love this old, disgusting man. I mean, think about it. He's in his 70s. He's creepy. He's scary. She was praying to be able to love him the way that she felt like she needed to. She started punishing herself when she couldn't. She started self-harming. She was in pain from the assaults, but then she would get mad at herself when she was conflicted. And she cries out in the interview, he's disgusting. I hate everything about him, from his personality to his looks. I begged God so many times and days to give me the opportunity to love that old man. I used to punish myself, even though I was in so much pain. I kept thinking, how can I be so ungrateful? How can I be so disgusted when the Lord loves you this much? Like the way that our brains find reasons to make sense of traumatic events and find ways to blame ourselves for these events. There was another victim who journaled after her assault, and she wrote in her journal, I didn't understand why he did that, but I think I get it now. He was cleaning me, forgiving me, making me his. Jesus did strange things when he made miracles. The victim's name is Amy, and she said, you know, you would think that I would realize that I was being assaulted, maybe even right after, but no, I didn't. I was so brainwashed. Then one day, near the end of 2021, Maple had been in JMS for nearly 10 years. A foreign JMS member texted her, telling her about how she had been raped by Jung and how so many of the foreign brides had been abused. And she urged Maple, she's like, Maple, I know how close you are to Jung. You need to get out of there. You need to leave. Maple was 26 now, and every day since the day that Jung had started the abuse, she had thought about ending her own life every single day. She knew that she had to get out, but she had to be careful. She told Jung, I haven't seen my parents in so long. I'm just going to fly to Hong Kong for like a week and I'll be right back. Jung requested one more night with her before she left. Coincidentally, because she had to travel, she had gotten the COVID vaccine that day, so she had an intense fever. Jung knew this. She's ill, she's burning up, she has a fever. Jung invites her into his room, and Maple knew what was going to happen. And in a very scary, life-threatening moment, she recorded audio of the assault. It's played in the Netflix documentary, and I do not advise you to listen to it, especially if you have any experience with being essayed. It is one of the most triggering audios that I have heard in so long. The translated transcript reads something like this. And side note, during the audio, you can hear Maple whimpering in fear, and you can hear slapping noises. Basically, you can hear the assault. Jung tells her, hug me tighter, say you love the Lord. This is literally while he's assaulting her. She says, I love the Lord. Touch me here again. It's bigger. It's so amazing when you do that. When a man hugs a woman, he gets so damn hard. There are more slapping sounds. And he continues, you have such white hips. Such white hips. Now, if you watch the dubbed version on Netflix, or if you just read the translations, it translates to, do you like that? But it's actually so much worse in Korean. He says, you like it so much you're losing your mind, huh? She gave no indication throughout the audio that she liked it at all. In fact, she gave every indication that she was in pain. But he continued to ask if she had reached the destination. And if so, how many times? 3, 4, 20? He continues to say, I have climaxed 50 times. And he continues, you see, God has chosen you like this. Make sure nobody touches you like this because this belongs to the Lord. Maple was crying in the Netflix interview, explaining how she had to keep calling out the Lord's name while he was doing this to her. She said she asked God why she had to go through something like this. Professor Kim, the founder of Exodus, he said something that really stuck with everyone. He said, the first time I visited JMS was in 1995. Maple was not even 1 year old. She was a baby in a diaper. And now that baby is sitting here as another victim of sexual assault. More than 30 years of victims and 3 decades of pure terror. And Maple was determined to put an end to it. She escaped to Hong Kong, and just 5 months later, she came back to Seoul to hold a press conference on March 16th, his birthday. She didn't want anyone to go through what she went through. And if you guys know assault cases in South Korea and really anywhere, no victims want to come forward because it stays with you for life. The internet is with you for life. No one wants to put their face to this. No one wants to be victim blamed, especially in this situation. There is so much victim blaming against Maple. But she said she's willing to put her name, her face, her story. This audio clip of one of the most traumatic things a woman can go through, she's willing to make it all public to stop this monster. She said somehow JMS knew that she was flying out to Seoul. They contacted her and threatened her. They said things like, you're doing this because you don't really know Koreans. Basically saying you don't know what we're capable of. JMS members in Hong Kong tried to stop her at the Hong Kong airport, trying to get her to not get on a plane to Korea. Once she got to Seoul, she was being followed. She was being watched by JMS members. She was suffering PTSD, anxiety attacks to the point where her body couldn't take it anymore. On the way to the press conference, her body literally shut down. There's footage of this. She's throwing up nonstop in the car on the way to the press conference. She had to stop by the hospital. Nothing was helping. She's still throwing up. And the person accompanying her, that was, I believe, a producer for Netflix, asked, do you just want to reschedule? It's okay if you do. And what she said, not even God will be able to stop me from doing this. I swear, I feel like my heart broke in a million pieces during this documentary. During the press conference, she sat there and she powerfully declared, in no shape or form is Jung a messiah. He is not fulfilling the Lord's will. And due in part to Maple's bravery, Jung has been rearrested. There were mixed responses to her press conference. Of course, JMS members believed Maple was working with the devil. She had betrayed everyone, and they worked hard to spread lies about Maple and her family. They were vilifying her, attacking her character, her credibility. They insinuated that she was mentally ill and that she was lashing out. One JMS member said with his whole chest, if this really did indeed happen, she would have left the church and looked for a solution. That's the natural, logical thing to do. But she didn't do that, so we don't think this happened. There were other victims that watched the press conference, older victims, and they had been too scared to come forward, and they said, I felt a lot of guilt. I felt like I should have been the one to say something. Maybe if I had done more, if I had said more, if I fought harder, then maybe Maple wouldn't have been a victim. Maple's parents have been supporting her every step of the way. They know that Maple did nothing wrong, and they told her they're so immensely proud of her courage, her morals, her belief, and she's the world to them. In October 2022, Jung was rearrested. Professor Kim sighed a brief breath of relief, but it was bittersweet because his father had just died a few months prior to Jung's rearrest. So he didn't get to see Jung get rearrested. So after 4 years of being released, Jung was rearrested on the same charges, but things are a bit different now. With the Netflix series, there's a lot of international attention on this case, and I know social pressure isn't necessarily a great thing when it comes to court decisions, but I do hope that we'll see something more than 10 years this time. And even if Jung is never going to be a free man ever again, I just can't imagine how the victims feel. More victims have been coming out with the traction of the Netflix series, and I'm very sad to tell you that JMS is still going strong. His following is still loyal. They are threatening victims, doing everything in their power to stop word from getting out. They even tried to stop the release of the Netflix documentary. The courts ruled against them and in favor of Netflix. So now they have spread this narrative that the documentary is proof that the media is conspiring against Jung in conjunction with the government. They argue that the Netflix documentary is being released too close to his trial date, and it was strategically trying to take him down. Cho Sung-hyun, the NBC producer that produced the Netflix documentary, said NBC had been wanting to do a documentary on JMS, but they were too scared. So he brought this to Netflix and asked them so that it would be released under Netflix as an extra layer of protection, which I don't know if it really worked. Side note, the producer, this is not just a job for him. It was revealed that he had family and friends that were victims of JMS and cults. So this meant a lot for him. The series is actually not just about JMS. There are other episodes of other cults in South Korea. If you guys are interested, I can also look into those. But the producer said that since the start of filming for this, not even the release, he had been followed, threatened, watched. He said in his 15-year career, he had never bought a self-defense weapon until this case. And to make matters worse, the producer said, what's released in this Netflix documentary is not even 10% of the crimes he learned about from JMS. This is the tip of the iceberg. The production teams, the lawyers, they wouldn't allow him to release the other 90% because it was that bad. It's just terrifying. I think it's really gross that Jung has used religion to commit these heinous crimes. And I want to say that even though there are still members of JMS that support him, I think to a degree, in their own ways, these are all victims too. Jung is currently waiting trial, and he is 77 years old. I hope this time we will see some sort of justice, and I hope the victims find some peace and happiness after all of this is over, and I just hope that they get to sleep at night knowing that he's gone. But that is the JMS cult, the case that I was way too scared to cover while I was in Korea. What are your thoughts? Please leave in the comments, and please stay safe, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday for the main episode. Bye.